And we're live. Hi, this is Coach MJ. I'm joined here today with Dr. Val Alina, our co host. She's actually on the other side of the world. I'm in Orlando, Florida. She's in the jungles of the Philippines. And she came out, obviously, I guess they have cocktail parties in the jungles because she's come out looking like a Hollywood celebrity today. And we're all excited because both of us and everyone on the team, we're so excited because today we're launching Unleashing Firepower as a book as we introduce the Global World Class Leadership Forum to you with our fabulous speakers who are in the wings waiting to come out. We're going to bring them out one at a time, and then Val and I are going to interview them just to kind of get some of the golden nuggets, trying to tease out a few of maybe some of the things they may have shared in the book. These are all phenomenal authors, leaders, speakers, successful people in the different silos of business in the business world. Some of them have other experiences in the military, etc. You'll be meeting in just a few minutes our one of our guests. He's a former Navy SEAL who became a very successful entrepreneur, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about in the book. He explains how he used his buds training to be able to create that mindset. Also, I'd also like to mention that today, also, I'd like to do a big shout out for one of the authors who could not be here. He's a former three-star general of the U.S. Army. His name is David Glazier. I'm very, very sad that he can't be here, but he's a great guy. He's done a wonderful chapter on the mindset of a team that you need to have in order to use AI. And this thing will blow you away. If you're in business, you've got to read his chapter that he's done for this book. Also, Dr. Joe Perez, who is our resident Spock. He's a data analyst, and he's done some incredible work too about how to do storytelling with data. And also, one of our speakers in Vietnam, she could not be here either, but I am going to be looking forward to introducing the people who are here. And without further ado, Val, I would like to maybe bring on Dave Crane. But before I do that, I have something I would like to share if I find it.
Well, while you're finding it, I want to welcome everybody. We're super excited to co host this event. I have been in so many events, and I can tell you, not because I'm here, not because I'm co hosting, not because I love MJ. I'm telling you that I'm so impressed by the hearts, by the dedication, the leadership, and the type of authors and people that are here tonight for me, today for you. And I cannot wait to introduce everybody to you, because I can tell you that you are going to get so much back for your career, for your life, and you will be inspired in a way that you have not been so before. I just know it. I had multiple meetings with Coach MJ, and every time he told me something, a new anecdote, I just couldn't believe it. It would get better and better. So stay tuned. I know we have a couple of hours together, but it is super worth it.
Here, let me just give you a preview. These are the folks who some of you are going to meet today who contributed to this book, Unleashing Fire. And that is just a preview. One of our first guests, we're just going to meet him real quick, but I want to give you just a little bit of a preview about one of the speakers in particular. He just came back from an event in Saudi. He said there was 35,000 people at the event. That's crazy.
Crazy.
And he has worked with just about every celebrity under the sun. Some of them you'll recognize in this quick, short clip. I'll bring him in a minute just to introduce himself, along with some of the other speakers. And then when we interview him, we can ask him some questions about maybe some inside information on some of the celebs he's worked with. That would be interesting. He takes executives, by the way, uses their experience and helps them leverage to become thought leaders so that they can get paid speaking gigs all around the world. That's what he does today. And he is the leader of the Game Changers and turns people into industry icons. Have a look at this. So, yeah, that's Dave Crane. Without further ado, I'm just going to bring him on stage. Hello, Dave. Dave is in Dubai. Hello, Dave.
Coach MJ and Dr. Val, it's a pleasure to be here. And it looks like I've got the world's most massive ego after showing that video. It looks like, oh, here we go. Just calm him down. But thank you very much. It's very kind of you to invite me. I'm really excited about what you're doing here. And we've been best friends for, 20 years plus? So
right, yes.
I'm a huge fan of what you do.
Well, thank you so much. Dave, I'm just going to ask you before we get into the interviews, because we're going to bring everybody on and just kind of do a quick meet and greet with everyone. You made a contribution in the book, and in the book you talked to our readers about how they could leverage their information. We're going to get that, try to squeeze that out of you a little bit in the interview, and that's what you're doing. So I think it might be worth it for them to stick around. If they've ever thought about becoming a speaker, or if they ever thought about writing a book or being a thought leader, then they might want to stick around for that. So we'll see you back in a few minutes, Dave. Thank you so much.
Very kind. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to be bringing up our next speaker. Let's see, who do we have here? Who do we have here in the room? You know, it could be anybody. Oh, maybe it's going to be Jeff Engel. Jeff Engel, former Navy SEAL turned entrepreneur. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's so early in California. It's 6 a.m. at least. And thank you so much for getting up, Jeff, and being with us this morning for this event.
Good morning, and I should say good evening to you, Dr. Val and Coach MJ. This is a great opportunity, and I appreciate it. And I'm very excited to be with everyone else in this journey, because as much as people say I may have something to share, I think I'm going to actually, I know that I'm going to gain a tremendous amount of knowledge just from everyone else is in the group, and very excited about this journey that we're starting.
Thank you. We're excited to have you here, to have your contribution was amazing in the book. I hope that everybody gets a chance to read it, about how you turn that grit and tenacity and resilience training that you got in the SEAL BUDS training, and then transfer that to be an entrepreneur. We'll get back to you and get more of those secrets from you, Jeff.
Great.
See you in a minute.
See you in a minute.
Okay, Val, let's see who else is up here. I'm not looking at the program. Can you give me a clue?
Christopher Salem.
Yep, and Chris said he needed to do something else. So who would be next on the chain?
Okay, so we got, I guess, our guest speaker, Dr. Sophie Nubani or Dr. Bob Choate.
Okay, so it'd be Dr. Bob Choate. Dr. Bob is the man. Hey, Bob.
Hey, MJ.
I'm so glad that you could make it. Thank you so much. Again, another person in California that had to get up with the chickens.
It's a lot of fun, and I have to say, I came closer to becoming a true brother. You know, as you know, on Thursday I had the procedure done. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. I saw your share. By the way, that was a very brave and generous share that you did on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Basically, it was a call to action for anyone who hasn't had a colonoscopy to get it done, because it's preventable. It's a great test to catch preventable cancer, which
Correct.
I got the memo late. So for those of you that know anything about my journey, I fought cancer twice for 2.5 years. And that was how we made this connection. And that's why we're here doing this program, because from the inspiration of my recovery in the hospital, we came up with this vision to write this book and create firepower talent, which we'll talk about later on today. So thank you so much, Bob, for sharing that. We'll see you back in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things that I will share with this audience today is that during my health journey and then through my recovery, one of the visions I had was to be able to give back and to work with kids. I've had a charity for 23 years called Time for Sharing, and we've impacted positively the lives of about 16,000 children since we started. And it was never a plan. It was just, it kind of happened. And so one of the things I did is that, well, since I had cancer and I dealt with it in my own way, I decided to empower kids in the Philippines who had cancer. So I went out there, and that's where I met Dr. Val. We celebrated one of our events together. James Quealy, who you'll meet later, also, he was another one that we did an event together in Thailand. And I'm just going to share just a quick little touch. I don't know how this is going to go off, but it's going to probably be an overlay onto our view here. Well, just kind of give you a little bit. So that was one of 3 events that we did out there for kids.
Beautiful event.
And it was wonderful. And Dr. Bao was with me on one of those, and we're just so excited to give back. And so one of the things we're doing is part of the proceeds of our book, Unleashing Firepower, will go to the kids who are recovering from cancer in the Philippines. I saw that they didn't have air conditioning. I saw that some of the kids didn't have money for chemo. It just drove me crazy. And I called the editors and I called the publishers right as I was flying back to the U.S. and said, please insert this sentence into the book that we do want to give back to these kids. And so after holding them in my arms and just feeling what they were going through, because I had experienced cancer, but I had air conditioning, I had chemo, let's face it. So I was very blessed on the journey that I went through, and I want to continue to give back as part of our mission. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, Dr. Val, by the way, you have a guest here, audience. There was a Santa Claus at the event. Do you think it was Dr. Val or Coach MJ? Dr. Val or Coach MJ? I'll let you think about that one.
Think about that
Val,
one.
who's the next person on our program we're bringing up?
Let's see. We have James Quealy.
James Quealy. Let's see if James is still here. James Quealy. Hey, we were just talking about you. We did an event together for kids in the Philippines with Dr. Val, and then I went over to Thailand and we met together and we did an event for kids there too. So thank you for that, first of all, and thank you for your contribution in the book. We'll talk about that when we interview you later on, but I just want to give you a quick chance to do a quick hello and do a meet and greet, little elevator pitch about yourself.
Sure. Well, greetings, everyone. Coach MJ and Dr. Val, and it's a sincere pleasure to be involved with all the other co-authors and a part of this awesome book. A bit about myself. I'm in Canada at the moment. I was born here in Western Canada, and I grew up in the Arctic Circle. So I come from pretty humble, modest beginnings. But since then, I've been roaming the globe. I've been to 54 countries. I've worked in 18 and lived in 8. So if you ask me where I'm from, I have to have a look outside the window and see where I'm at the moment. So now I'm back in cold, dark Canada, but thrilled to be here and help spread some good word about business and teamwork and leadership with you all.
Thank you so much, James. We'll be seeing you in a few moments.
Great.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for being here with us.
Okay, Dr. Val, who do we have next?
Naeem El Zain.
Mr. Mr. Naeem El Zain. Mr. Naeem El
Hello,
Zain.
I'm
coach.
working on
Hello, Dr. Val.
pronunciation.
From
I'm
Beirut,
working on
Lebanon.
pronunciations.
Is a quite difficult letter to spell when you speak English, so Naeem El Zain.
Well, Naeem, can you give us just our audience a little bit about you before we get into the interview later on? But just a little quick intro.
Of course,
How are things
MJ.
with you in Beirut, Lebanon? We hear a lot about that in the news these days.
It's a bit crazy, but we've kind of built resilience in this country. Hopefully, things will go into a way where peace gets over the entire region, and we have some stable state one day soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you're a well-known HR expert and trainer in that whole region.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to getting into the interview with you later on. Thank you so much for just coming on real quick, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Sure.
See you.
Now we've
Kevin
got
Wash.
Kevin Wash. I thought we threw him out. Kevin Wash, we were just making a joke. Hello. Your audio. Yes. Okay. Now we've got Kevin Wash. Kevin,
Can you hear us?
I'm bouncing around a bit here.
Okay. How's the audio now?
I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
So
I'm back.
Kevin,
Hey.
Kevin, you're in Spain today. Is that right?
Yes. Listen, firstly, it's a pleasure to be here. Coach MJ, Dr. Val, great to meet you. I'm delighted and I'm very honored to be a part of this fantastic Unleashing Firepower initiative. Yeah, I'm based in Valencia, Spain. I'm an international sales trainer. I think for me, one of the hardest things to learn in life and in sales is the ability to learn to ask the right type of questions and to develop a mindset that gives you the mentality of listening to understand rather than listening to respond. So I have two questions I'd like to ask people today. First question is, tell me, what is your why? And then the second question is, what does it take to change somebody's life from being ordinary into being extraordinary? I personally believe the answer to these two questions are linked and they create a subconscious pattern that can determine the quality of your life. So hopefully, talk to me if you've got issues in your life that you'd like to improve, sales, whatever. I will be delighted to speak to you. You will find me here at firepowertalent.com. And hopefully, if I'm still around and people will still talk to me later on, I'm looking forward to having a chat with you two guys.
I will make
Wonderful.
sure
Thank you
you
so
come
much,
in,
Kevin.
Kevin. I got you. I'll get
Thank
you
you.
in.
A true firepower
Thank you.
man, exactly. Who do we have next now? Well,
Okay. Dr. Robin Odegaard.
yes, Dr. Robin.
Hey, Coach. Hi, Dr. Val. It's good to see you.
Great to see you,
too.
Dr. Robin. For those people who don't know Dr. Robin, she has one of the most successful podcasts I know about. It's called Quick Hits. And so many of my friends have connected there. And she just does a wonderful job. And then she's also a member of our board at Firepower Talent and has written an incredible, valuable chapter on mindset in the book. So, Dr. Robin, one of the things I found out about you is that you also have 3 things that you sent us that we're going to ask later on our audience, and anyone who can guess which one is true can win a free book. So I'm just letting you know that you've been nominated. We're going to dig into your personal stuff.
I knew when I shared stuff with you, I'm going to be like, Coach is going to use that somehow.
Yes. Well, we're looking forward to having a little chat with you later on to just explore more about what you're doing. And thank you so much for joining us today. The mental MacGyver, Dr. Robin. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Coach.
Thank you. We'll bring you back. We have Enrique Acosta Gonzalez.
We have Enrique and Costa Gonzalez.
Oh, see,
One
now
of
I
the
get
leading
I get
voices of
him.
leadership on LinkedIn is with us today. 7-time author Enrique.
Hey, Coach MJ, Dr. Val, un placer conocerte
Un
aquí.
placer, un placer. I'm
Everybody,
just
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Mucho simpático, amigo.
No, it's like he corrects my pronunciation and then he says Enrique. I'm like, Enrique, I gotta introduce him. Let me have one right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So it's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me as a special guest speaker. It's always good to be in your company and nice to meet new professionals around the globe, the Philippines. You must be loving that weather right now. But I'm
Oh
Enrique
God.
Acosta Gonzalez, leadership coach. Served 26 years in the Navy, retired, and made Orlando another great paradise to be in, my home. But just happy to be here and share time.
Thank you so much, Enrique. We can't wait to get into some of the leadership things. We've got a couple of leadership gurus here with us today, so I think it's going to be interesting. Anybody who is interested in leadership, whether you're looking to lead your community, lead yourself, lead your organization, so we've got some great mentors and role models here today that you can get some golden nuggets from. So stick around. Thank you, Enrique. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon. We got
Boy,
Joseph.
Val, when I touch that button, they disappear. I kind of feel like one of those shows back in the 60s, I Dream of Jeannie or something, where they just
I'm looking at you. I'm looking like it's like
vanish.
you're gaining power and you're having
Yes,
fun.
yes, yes. It's very
But
powerful stuff.
come on, do a little
Who
more
we bringing
subtle,
on
huh?
next? This is fun. Who we bringing
Okay.
on next?
You just want to bring them on to then take them
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Jo-
Ding, ding.
Joseph Polanin.
Okay, Joseph Polanin, Captain, retired United States Navy with distinction. Thank you so much for being here, sir. Before the show started, Joe started going on about an explanation about how some of the military units were formed. It was very interesting, but I just didn't have time. I was trying to fix my tech, so I apologize, Joe. You're a wonderful guy and a true friend, and I'm very, very happy that you're here today.
Coach, thank you so much. And Dr. Val, it's a pleasure to meet with you. And you never need to apologize for anything. As you mentioned, teammates, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever we are. I'm very close to you and Enrique geographically. I'm just outside of Tampa, Florida. But I think, and I know that through the power of the internet, LinkedIn, and the wonderful technology that we have today, I feel instantly connected and close with everybody on the line today, wherever we may be globally. Coach, as you mentioned, I served 30 years in the U.S. Navy. My profession was explosive ordnance disposal. That's the bomb squad. So a lot of time working and serving with units like Jeff's, Navy SEALs, and the like. I have lived and served in over 75 countries and operated with military forces from more than 20 partner nations that I'm honored and privileged to know. And really, from that service, I derived two fundamental truths. Number one, the value of a team, that a team will always accomplish more together than anyone can alone. And number two, when you have a fantastic team that you bring together for a movement, a cause, a powerful transformation, such as Unleashing Firepower is doing today, how does one elevate that team and inspire them to achieve more than they even believed possible? And Coach and Dr. Val, that's what you're doing today. I'm honored and privileged to be part of it, and I look forward to learning from everyone as the morning goes on. Thank you so much.
Thank
you, Joe. We'll see you soon.
Beautiful presentation.
Look forward to getting into some of your details and finding
Cannot
out a
wait.
little bit more about those amazing responsibilities that you had before and how you can help people in the future. You and I will be working closely together at Firepower Talent, of course, on leadership programs and executive search in the future. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing you in just a minute. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. We got Dr. Randy Ward in the house. I'm excited to bring her
now,
on.
let's see. I don't think Dr. Randy Ward was able to get back here, so
really?
I'm going to just give her regards from everyone. Who's next here?
Ben Gay the third. Ben Gay the third.
Okay, so he's coming on at 11:15. So I think we're done then with the quick intros, and now we're going to get into doing our first interviews.
Jeff Engel, did we get?
Yeah, he came in and we met him.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we can
all right.
bring
So
him.
we got him on.
Okay, great. So first of all, everyone, again, if you're watching this in our live broadcast, if you joined us on a link, thank you so much for coming to the Global World Class Leadership Forum. I hope today is going to be a good day for you to profit. And I feel that it will be if you'll stick around and just listen to some of these incredible speakers who have so much to share. I can tell you that as an entrepreneur, and I did it pretty much alone, I built up a business which did X. And at the time, I was kind of, patting myself on the shoulder going, oh, good job. But I can tell you that had I had any one of these leaders, any one of these mentors, any one of these people who've co-authored this book advising me, my business would have tripled. So if you have anything to do with business, if you have anything to do with leadership, you're going to gain a lot today. Val, I think we're going to bring on Jeff Engel and just bring him back in, and let's dig into find out a little bit about how his Navy SEAL background enabled him to become a successful entrepreneur. I think that's just fascinating.
Absolutely.
Jeff.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Okay, so you're the first interview on the plate today, and we're so happy to put you in pole position. You've earned it because it's so darn early over in California. So Jeff, I'd just like to say, first of all, when you wrote the story in your chapter about how you used your Navy SEAL training to create these anchors of grit and resilience, to be able to use those to transform yourself into an entrepreneur. That's really something that people are going to get out of the book. And we want them, of course, to buy the book. It's on Amazon.com, folks. I think our producer will probably put the links in at some point so you can have a look at it. But Jeff, can you give us a little bit of an idea, insight as to some of your, without, breaking any of your security clearances, but could you give us just a little idea of what resilience might have been like in a typical day in the SEALs?
Yeah, I'm going to come at it indirectly. Okay. I actually think it actually comes from what's happening right now. It's not just Dr. Val. It's not just you, MJ. It's not just Joe Plannon. It's not Enrique. It's all of us. And that is, and every time that I've been with a successful venture, either I've been leading it or part of it or a group or a sub part of it, it's always been about the group creating more than the individuals could on their own. And it's not just, and this is what you hear the saying, 1 + 1 equals 3 or equals 2, but it is combining all those powers and learning from everyone and growing and letting everyone be the expert, because and those skills are transferable. So when I've been in enterprises where I was leading organizations of 5,500 people, or to what I'm currently doing now, which is there's 6 core people, and then we outsource a lot of the extra parts, and then each one of the individuals manages or leads, and there is a difference between management and leadership. And they're both important skills, but all those things came from when I first started out and going through SEAL training and carrying a boat on my head. It was kind of learning the grittiness, being resilient, not stopping. And at the end of the day, it's to get through SEAL training, you just don't quit. I mean, it's not about figuring out how to do more push-ups or how more pull-ups or sit-ups or as long as you meet the minimum criteria, then all you have to do is just don't quit and keep learning and keep learning from your peers, keep learning from things that you've done. When it's worked great. When it hasn't gone well, then that's where you really need to double down and say, okay, what can I do better? And there are still things today that I did 20 years ago that still go through my head to say, hey, here's how I would solve it today. Or can I solve it any better than I did before? And it's not that you carry this heavy burden of, oh, wow, but it's really just as you gain more wisdom, how do you start solving the problems differently, more effectively, more efficiently?
Right, because at the end of the day, breakdown, the circumstances might be different, but problems are problems. And so those problem solving skills that are transferable.
Right. A lot of this and I'm really grateful for this. And we talked about, I alluded to this earlier, just everyone that's on this team, but I'd have to give a tremendous amount of credit to the people I've been around. Captain Joe Herger, Admiral McCraven, Admiral Tucker, who are all leaders that I worked for as I was rising through the ranks. And they all showed in a different form factor what grittiness, resilience, and hardiness is, and how do you persevere, and it's as leaders, we need to recognize it is not about us. Like, it is not about us. It's about the team, and when the team can rise up, then everyone's better.
You know, you mentioned one of the people that you admire that you worked with, Admiral McCraven. For some of the audience might know him as the admiral who gave that famous commensurate speech and then wrote a book called Make Your Bed. And that became kind of a catchphrase in the corporate world to, hey, get it done.
Yeah, he's actually he has come out with some other books that are also fantastic. And the last one's Wisdom of the Bullfrog. It was released not too long ago. But ironically, as I woke up this morning and I was making my bed, I did. Most days I do think of Admiral McCraven. I'm like, okay, here it goes again. And I do it in a joking manner because Admiral McCraven is selfless. He always put everyone else for himself. And I say that he was always looking out for the better of what the organization needed to happen for the organization overall. And it's been interesting because I followed him, worked for him at SEAL Team 3, but then our paths rejoined again as we've been to other conferences. So not too long ago, we were at the American Hotel Lodge Association event and had a chance to introduce them and then listen to them in the audience. And here's this gentleman, 4-star admiral, led the Joint Special Operations Command. You'll see pictures of him with the presidents, et cetera, and kind of had some private conversations with me about some things he did. And his fundamental presentation is really, a lot of it is around buds and basic things he did, which built the core, which I realized that, oh my gosh, the things that he talks about as his fundamental building blocks are the same as me. And so I think and that actually helps me double down on, okay, this does work. And there were some events that as we go forward on this journey together, there's some things that opened up over a 12-month period where I would take things to one level and then I'd get stuck. And then he would take that same problem and go to the next level and figure it out. And actually every time we pushed it, we would break it and it wouldn't work. But every time we got better, and you'll see things that happened 5 years later, which were direct results of our failures. And they weren't small failures. They were one of them, Admiral McCraven almost died in. There was one of the events where some of my folks had some pretty hairy experiences, but no one died. And we just kept pushing the better. And that's why special operations is better today than it was when we first started this journey.
It's a continual learning curve. Life, etc., is as well as leadership. And to say something like you failed is always an opportunity to learn and grow. What you just verified and acknowledged that's how the SEALs have evolved from the mistakes and the failures of others to be able to build on those problems to be solved and to now become today's standard operating procedures.
Yeah, I also think it takes some humbleness to admit you screwed up, and then also because maybe you're going to start out and initially be defensive, which does happen to me sometimes. But then you have to sit back and be reflective and say, okay, now that let's accept this as how could I have done it better? How could the team have done it better? And how do we work through that process to be better? And so one of the things that I talk about with people is when you have a problem is you can't hold it yourself. You literally or figuratively have to put the situation on the table in front of you. So it's not attached to you. And then you start looking at it from a distance and you start looking down on it and you start working through it. But all that really comes out of grittiness, hardiness, and resilience. All that ability to put it on the table and look at it and dissect it comes from the basics of that I learned being at Buds, from running around with 7 other folks putting a heavy rubber boat on our head and having the boat pound you on the head, and which by the way does make you bald because it actually wears the hair off the top of your head. So there's a couple of my classmates would literally have bald spots, which were not just wasn't just missing the hair, but it was a little raw. But how do you keep going when you're saying this really sucks? And one of the things that I used to say in my class was, if you start quitting now, when do you stop?
Wow, that's powerful.
And
that is powerful.
And there were some of my classmates who turned around and came back in the line when we were in the surf. And there were a couple that came back, and then later on they left. And that's okay. It's okay to go through something that's tough and say it's not for me.
Absolutely. Jeff, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So,
no, of course, Dr.
Your story is fascinating. And when our audience hears, you just have to keep on going. And especially that you went through so much rigorous training or whatever the case is of the audience hearing now, that you say, oh, keep on going. But what happens when that keep on going? You don't have that strength anymore to keep on going. And perhaps maybe your team is not what it needs to be to get you through. What do you do in those circumstances? Perhaps get a little insight to, of course, people get the book and read your chapter, but it's better we say it, but when you're in the real world and you just can't go on anymore, what do you do?
Take a step back. I mean, figuratively, take a step back, put your hands on your hips, bend over, and take a couple breaths. And you have to take yourself out of the moment. You have to take yourself out of the moment. And there's one of my coaches, and by the way, Dr. Helen Ackman, wonderful person. She's talk about, are you on the dance floor or are you on the balcony? Because when you're on the dance floor, you're right there. You see who's right in front of you, and so you're in the thick of it. But when you can take a step back and rise up, and you're on the balcony, you can see the whole dance floor. You can see everyone there. And so when you're in that situation, you get stuck. It's probably when you're on the dance floor, which you need to be able to be, but you need to be able to rise up and look from the balcony and say, okay, what do I see? What are the pieces I'm missing? What is it? And by the way, it's not like in my case, with what I'm currently working on, it's not always me pulling through and saying, okay, guys, and I should say folks, because we do have men and women on the team, and we all bring different skill sets. And I think one thing about my current team is, in their respective roles, they're all better than me compared to my role, and I do not say that lightly. Because as we talk, some of the peer groups I've had have been just amazing. But anyways, there are times where I say, I'm kind of in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm done. Like I'm stuck. I am stuck. And not that I don't want to quit, but I'm just stuck mentally. But the power of the team, to back to your question, is sometimes they're going to take the step back, get on the balcony and say, hey, what about this?
Right.
So hopefully I answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's where true leadership comes in, to have a good team to be able to balance out, and see different perspectives. I love that example that you gave. What would be that maybe the lessons of lessons, your X factor lesson that you could share of that deep time, a challenging time in your life, in your work, that you just couldn't go above that, and perhaps a 101 lesson on getting through that challenge, that you can share with us here.
Yeah, well, probably my claim to fame is being a Navy SEAL. I think we're more practical. A lot of things that came from that practicality is now being used today. And so when I think about that, so glorious part is being a Navy SEAL, where I think where I've learned a ton, amazing amount, is working, being able to be from small groups and larger groups. The part that I think that has helped when we're getting stuck is figuring out are the right people on the team. And it might be someone, a junior person, a peer, or a board member. Board members are wonderful, but they're not able to put the attention into as much time as the rest of the team has. And so there's going to be times where a board member may not be the right person on the team. And so you have to figure out, how do you have those conversations with them? Because you can't just go and say, you're out of here.
Absolutely.
And that goes for anyone. But you have to talk through with them and make sure they understand why they're not the right fit. And it has to be a conversation. Because
absolutely.
You're going to come back to them again. Don't burn the bridge.
Perfect. It's so valuable contribution that you have done. We're very thankful to have you, and your segment has been spectacular. I cannot wait to read your chapter. And of course, we want to encourage everyone here to buy this book, because Unleashing Firepower has everything you need in terms of leadership, your company, how to really take your business to another level, all here through the wisdom of so many authors that we have in this book. MJ is back, and it's been a
well, I
pleasure
just wanted to
to
say,
have you,
first of all,
Jeff.
thank you, Jeff. I was outside the studio looking in, and you look great, by the way. You and Val probably looked a lot better together than you and I. So.
Yeah, well, I just Coach MJ and Dr. Val, I appreciate the opportunity we've had together the last couple of minutes. And so I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the book. So it is more powerful, and I'm recognizing this now. It is more powerful than a book that is written by just one person, because there's just so much wisdom in the book, so much wisdom. And I just appreciate everyone's energy. I appreciate, again, MJ, Dr. Val.
I have to go visit all of you to get a signature from all of you. So somehow I'm going to make myself travel to everywhere you guys are to get y'all's signature in my book.
Of course we're going to do that.
Great.
Thank you.
Jeff Engel, former Navy SEAL turned entrepreneur, shares his success stories, tips, and golden nuggets in his chapter in Unleashing Firepower, written by giants who've done it, been there. Thank you, Jeff, for your service. Thank you for coming in today. Thank you for being with us. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we
we have Dave Crane, I think, is set up. We need to watch our time, Val. I was told by the producer backstage, so we need to be more conscious of our time. I'm sorry, we did have a technical glitch, so I had to go outside and kick the donkey so he would then pull the cart that turned the generator to get my screen working back again. That's just how it goes. Okay. Dave Crane. Dave Crane, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for being here. If it was easy, Dave, anybody could do it.
Well, life's like that anyway. Most people don't do stuff that they really want out of life. They sit and watch everybody else doing it, and then they stroke their chins and said, I could have done it better. Well, go on then. You're doing this. You're making it happen. It's going out live. We've got people watching. You've got a book that we've all contributed to that is now going to change a lot of lives. So more power to you. And if the thing happens, it freezes or whatever, then you're still the best guy to fix it, because you made the whole thing come together. So full marks to you, both of you.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Dave. And I have
Dave,
to give
you,
Val credit
I'm
because
sorry.
she's doing everything she can do from the jungle to cover for me while I'm running around chasing the donkey.
Right. No, no problem. That's why we were here. Dave, I don't know how long you're going to be in Dubai, but I'm arriving on the 7th. I have an event there. So if you're around, I would love to meet you and get that signature down.
Sounds like a perfect idea. As for how long I'm going to be in Dubai, I've done 30 years already. So if I leave suddenly, it was because of you.
Yeah.
So otherwise, we'll be fine now. I can't wait
Yes.
to meet you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. Dave, I'd like to ask you, because we have a chance to get you on today, I'd like to ask you how is it that I know that you've written this chapter and you've dropped some golden nuggets on how entrepreneurs, executives can leverage their experience, get paid to speak on stages, how you show them how to do that, how to become thought leaders and all that. And that's in the book. But what we want to dig into are these celebrities that you've worked with. You've got to have some stories. I mean, you worked with James Brown, you worked with Bruce Willis, you've worked with Gary Vaynerchuk, you've worked with so many people. You've got to have a story or two that you could share with one of these celebrities that we don't know about. I know that Cindy Crawford kissed you on stage. I saw that with my own eyes. And I know that it's a former BBC broadcaster. Before that, you won a competition and got yourself on TV. So you've always somehow been in the limelight as a young man, and you're making things happen all around the world and all the big stages. But give us some inside stories. Come on, Dave. We're begging you.
Well, I don't really know where to start. There's a couple of reasons. First of all, as you get older, you forget everything. Secondly, I don't want to get sued. And another thing is, when you're doing these kind of events, you're in the moment. And so you're doing all these things with people who are fascinating and so on, but it kind of blurs. And that sounds like a really strange thing to say. When you look back at it, you go, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened. But at the time, it didn't feel particularly any more special than drinking a cup of coffee, watching Netflix, chatting to your friends, or having dinner with your family. It's only later you realize how exciting some of these things are. As far as gossip goes, I can give you a James Brown one, a little one. So I got the blessing of being able to interview James Brown in Dubai, and I was working for one of the top radio stations at the time. He came in to the Dubai airport, and I was given the blessing of having about 10 minutes to interview him. So I'd already prepped everything, and this is pre-internet time, so I prepped everything, written down all the questions, and we sat down with lots of cameramen taking pictures as we did it. So I had 4 questions lined up to ask him, and with every answer he gave me, I didn't actually have a clue what he just said because I didn't understand his accent. And it sounds terrible to say that, and I don't mean disrespect, and he's no longer with us, but and he must have been jet lagged as well. So after every question, I'm going, really, that's amazing, thank you. And so here I'd like to ask you about this. And so the interview, of which I've got it, and I think it's on YouTube somewhere, anybody listening to it or watching it is going to go, oh, that was amazing. And yes, it was amazing, but it wasn't a conversation. It was a one-way, fascinating way to spend time with a quality star. And often with the big stars, when you travel and do events like I did yesterday, we did a big one in Saudi Arabia called MISC with like 35,000 people there. And there's a guy called Michio Kaku, who's a fantastic, an Asian guy with long white hair. You'll recognize when you see him. He's an incredible thought leader. And there's various sports people, Karim Benzema and Chris Gardner, as I mentioned, from the Pursuit of Happiness. You spend time with these people, but they're like everybody else. You're like, how are you? Yeah, how are you? Great, that's it. They don't suddenly turn around and you look, oh, you've dropped some gold dust. Let me have some of that. So you don't know either how many people would remember you afterwards. You're just there to do the job.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So for me, I'm sure there are lots of stories that could have you thrown in prison. If you want to ask me about them, you know that I will tell you everything.
That's okay. What you dropped already was golden. There's a skit that Eddie Murphy did, Dave, and it was about how he was trying to interpret what James Brown was saying. He said he'd asked James Brown a question, and James Brown would go, ow, and then he couldn't understand anything else. The guy said exactly what you just said. So that was awesome.
I've listened to it since, and I get it now. But that's with the help of ChatGPT translating, so it makes it much better 30 years later. So there we go. But do you want to talk about the book a bit?
Yeah, just give us a couple of little slivers there before we move on, because we want them to buy the book. But what could they get out of it in essence?
Here's the thing, and it's funny that we start the conversation talking about celebrities. Every single person on this call has the ability to be what we perceive to be a celebrity. In the old days of old media, you had to go through a casting call or a casting couch call or whatever it would be to be a famous person. You had to be related to somebody, or you had to be on TV or radio, on newspapers, magazines, or in the movies. And it was like you were some kind of higher being as a direct result. But nowadays, the game has changed. And I don't believe that rock stars, the way that we grew up perceiving them to be, are the same as they used to be. Even if you look at the biggest ones that are still around, the likes of Paul McCartney from the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, they've got a very solid business model behind them, same as every single company that's been successful. They're not there by accident. Do you know that the Rolling Stones, every song they wrote up until 1971 was actually written, and their accountant was looking after being their manager, and put all the songs in their name, in his name. So he owns everything up to 1971. So then after that, they put the copyright in their name. So it's part of a learning curve as a business. And I believe that if you flip it the other way around, every single person who has done anything ever has the ability to increase and focus on that and help a few more people. And that is the perception of a rock star nowadays. It's a business person. It's not a musician, or maybe sports stars are still seen as being special. But other than that, everyone's influencing in some way. So I believe that, especially now, we have people reaching 50, of which I'm 50 plus. But what I believe is there's a challenge for everybody right now who's saying, I'm 50 and I'm feeling out of touch, and I might not be at my job anymore because insurance is expensive. I've got to get my family on holiday, and I'm a lot more expensive than the next generation. You need to think of yourself as a rock star. You need to create a side hustle. You need to create a brand. And that way, whatever happens next, you are in charge. We are going to live a lot longer. We are going to be able to reinvent ourselves. And also, if you are front and center, position yourself, and I'm not saying be a rock star of a guitar. I'm just saying be proud of who you are and share your expertise and build credibility. Have a network around you of people who can support you. Increase your visibility. Actually work on your brand and make sure the industry knows that you are sharing things that give you status. You build up trust, credibility, not crust, that's bread. You build those two things together, and what you end up with is people want to work with you. And every single person who's on this call can do that starting now. And that's why being a rock star is a great way to run a business. It's a great way to grow your brand. And if you're the CEO and you're also acting like a rock star, you are leading a band into your industry because it translates across music, sports, movies, and also business.
Yes. Dave, before I just get to our next speaker, and thank you so much for sharing that, I would just like to get one more thing into it. As you are a board advisor at Firepower Talent, and people can get in touch with you through Firepower Talent, we also know that I've just run a masterclass on leadership for game changers for your organization, and we're going to be asking you to run an industry icon program for Firepower for all of our directors and board advisors. So I'm looking forward just to kind of get you to say yes right now on camera, so I've got all the witnesses and recorded.
I would never say no to you, Coach MJ. The minute you ask, the answer is yes.
What about me? If I ask anything, will I get a yes too?
We haven't met yet, but I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, you're going to be in Dubai. Come on. And you'll get a chance to meet Aziza maybe, and Maya, his lovely daughter, and maybe even the dogs.
I love it. I love
the whole Crane
I'm
family.
gonna invite you to my event. I'll go behind the scenes with you.
Wonderful.
Of course you will.
I can't wait.
Dave, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate you. Thank you for being with us tonight. I know it's late, getting late soon. So blessings to you and everyone there. We'll speak soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for your wisdom.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we've got Christopher Salem on stage. Dave, thank you so much. Let's say goodbye to Dave. I didn't mean to do that, Dave. Hi, Chris. So sorry about coming in. It's kind
Oh,
of like
no worries. I
merry-go-round. It's
finally got it down.
Musical chairs.
Yeah, but you know, I finally got the backdrop. It finally now loaded properly, so we're all good. So
I have to say, Chris, you just look excellent as usual, and we can't wait to hear some of the things you're doing. Now, you're speaking a lot here in the United States. You're flying around. You're speaking a few times a week sometimes. It must be crazy. Every time I see you, you're on a plane flying somewhere. You're at a conference speaking, and you're probably one of the busiest speakers that I know. That's a true story here in this country. So tell us, what is it that companies today want to hear about? Is leadership a big topic?
well, leadership is always a big topic, Coach MJ, and not just, you know, in the traditional form. A lot of times when you look at leadership, it shows up in so many different aspects, regardless of role or duties. And when you think about a lot of the challenges that organizations of all sizes face, they face retention issues, absenteeism, job burnout. They face productivity and efficiency issues, quotas, and so on. So leadership is imperative at every level, not just from at the top, but every level within a role and duty. So leadership is not defined by a title, as you know, but by our example and why and what we do to be the example and resourceful to help others do the same.
Yeah, and you very, very aptly put it that way. In the book, you talked about emotional intelligence, even with customer service. Could you just explain that a little bit?
Well, when you look at anything, think about a beautiful house, right? A lot of times people, when they're looking at a house, they're going to look at like how beautiful that home looks from the road. They're going to look at the exterior. They're going to look at the windows, the doors, the roof. Then they're going to think about all the beautiful things they're going to put into that house. But ask yourself, do you think people take the time to think about the foundation? Probably not. So we are conditioned as people to live in a society of instant gratification. We're looking for to do things differently, to have different and better results. But we don't realize the reality is without a strong foundation, we can't do things differently to have different and better results. So what are we doing to take time to cultivate and nurture our foundation? And that for us is, as people, our mindsets. If our mindsets are not, you know, we're not aware of how we're operating or regulating our emotions and how we now respond rather than react to situations and other people, it's going to impact our self-esteem, our confidence, how we communicate to ourselves and other people, how we take calculated risks, and how we take action. Many times people are operating from their inner critic more than their inner champion. And that will play out in how they communicate in a passive or aggressive way with other people, where communication is based on assumptions and speculation, thus where expectations thrive because of the fear tied to outcomes. And what often happens with expectations, they fall through the cracks. And then it creates resentment, anger, and it's just a vicious cycle that repeats itself over and over again. But if we can learn to communicate from our inner champion and be aware of that, we can be more attuned of understanding our own emotions, that it's okay if we have a negative emotion, but knowing that we don't have to respond or react from it. We can respond from it. I can pause or remove myself for 10 minutes or perhaps sleep on it before I come in the next day to then send that email or reply back to that person or people, whoever's involved. So we have control over 5 things as people. And this is what emotional intelligence teaches. We can control our communication to ourselves from our inner champion. When we can do that better, we can be more specific, clear, and concise in an assertive way with ourselves. We can then communicate in a specific, clear, and concise way with other people. Whether if we're the sender or the receiver, you're always responsible. People will always think that both people are responsible. In a perfect world, that would be the case. But you can't control other people. You can only control what you do. You are responsible as the sender and receiver of your communication. And when it's assertive, specific, clear, and concise, there is very little to no room for assumptions and speculation. Matter of fact, there is no requirement for expectations at that point. You can operate strictly from intentions and empower people to do the same, so that when we can complement rather than depend upon each other, the results are just going to be a byproduct of those intentions committed to that process. We could control our behavior, is in alignment with our communication in an assertive versus a passive aggressive way. Many times people's behavior contradicts what they say, or their body language, or their tonality. We could control our attitude. It's happening for you, not to you. Big difference. Challenges, obstacles, and setbacks are a great thing, because we learn and grow and expand from them. If everything would go right, we would become complacent, bored, and as people, we create problems. Emotions we can control. Number 4, we can learn to respond rather than react to situations and other people. Big difference. And then finally, action. We can take action. Are we focused on the priorities that matter? Many people are busy but not productive. They're caught up in a lot of the things that could be delegated. They're caught up in a lot of things that are not even relevant to what's really important. So they're wasting their time. It's better to be really laser focused on your must task and priorities than your should priorities, which are part of the Stephen Covey priority matrix. And those shoulds should be complementing your must. Anything that's important and urgent that can be delegated, you delegate. And then anything that is avoidable, that does not serve what's most important, get rid of it. When we can control those 5 things and focus on our foundation, be more prepared as a result of it, execute on it, and then measure to see what works, what doesn't work, and then adapt and adjust accordingly. Those are the 4 pillars of success with action. When we can control those 5 things, that's what EQ could help us to do, to really rise up to be a better leader, regardless of role or duties, and learn how to let go of those same 5 things in other people and situations. It is a game changer in shifting from a codependent to an interdependent work environment, and will make a huge difference in not only how we produce output, but how efficient we will be, how we can measure it for success, and create more valuable customer experiences as a result of it. Because everything you do on the outside starts from the inside out. Customer service and experiences start with people and what they do internally, and then reflect outward. That's the difference in increasing your revenue and profit margin in your business.
You heard it first from Christopher Salem, and to get to know more, he's got a lot more golden nuggets in the book. Chris, I know you're very busy, and thank you so much for coming on today. Thanks
My
for sharing
pleasure.
with us. You've got a great chapter, a masterclass on emotional intelligence for business. It's a take I've never looked at before. And like you said, by doing those 5 things, you have a much more valuable house and a much more solid foundation. Respond instead of react. Thank you, Chris Salem. God bless.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank
Nice
you
to
both to
meet
you,
you.
Coach MJ and Val.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you.
We're looking for Bob Choate coming on now. We're going to bring on Bob Choate and say goodbye to Chris. Mr. Bob, Dr. Bob Choate.
Yeah, it's interesting because I just was communicating with Dr. Sophie and said she was on next. So
Oh, well, I couldn't find her. Is she in the studio somewhere?
she is having a hard time getting in. They said it's full.
Okay. All right. So as if you
I
on
will
some
go
kind of-
ahead right now, but let's get her in somehow.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Because now
absolutely.
that as people leave the studio, then more people can come in. So I think that's probably what we'll do. So
Okay.
Chris, I think we're okay. He's okay to exit the program, as is anyone else who's spoken already, so that we can make room for some of the other people and the guests. Of course, Dr. Sophie is an important guest, as was Dr. Randy Ward. Couldn't get on either. Again, it's my tech day. I told you I'll be eating tomatoes today. Just taking them off my face.
It's all about learning and adjusting.
Yes.
And
yes.
yeah, so like knowing what we don't know, and in fact, because I like what Jeff Engel said earlier about being humble, and that's something I learned when I was in the Marine Corps, about being humble of what I didn't know, and as leaders, I think that the best leaders, they work to stay humble. They work to continue to learn. And when I see a lot of people who call themselves leaders, and yet uh, their egos are so huge that they think that they know it all. And what part of, like, I've been doing this quite a bit, going out and explaining to people that just because you may be confident doesn't mean that you're competent. And to me, that's everything. What I had to learn in terms of my own self is to drop my ego. I had to become self-aware, because that's very important in order for every one of us to grow as leaders. So we start off with self-awareness, and then we discover what we don't know within our own selves, what we don't know in terms of knowledge, and so forth. Then we seek to gain that. And like, even going back to my days in the Marines, even starting right from boot camp, I can recall in the first phase, and looking at the third phase recruits, and saw how competent they were, especially when they marched and drilled and everything like that. And I said, well, I want to get like that, but I can't get like that till I develop a great foundation. I had to master my foundation. And as I started mastering that part and moving through the first phase and the second phase and eventually the third phase, and then graduating, I got better. But still, just like in a martial arts, I've been in martial arts for, uh, gosh, almost all my life. Since I was about 18 months old, my mom put a stick in my hand, was teaching me kendo, and still going at it at my age now. I recently turned 72 and feel like I'm still like 18 years old, still going out there and learning it. But one thing in a martial arts, people think that, I'm a master when I get my black belt. No, that's you just develop a basic foundation. Mastery doesn't come until at least mastery of the particular art, because as we're moving through, we're still mastering ourselves and mastering each level, but we're still not a master yet. Even with the title of so-called master or grand master, whatever, you're really not mastering. And if you think you have mastered it, then you, to me, you become even more incompetent. So it's about that continued growth, continued learning.
I
And
have two comments here, Bob. Enrique Acosta Gonzalez says, confidence, picking up on what you said, confidence doesn't equal competence. And Kim McNeely shares, humility, as you just said, is a step to progress.
yes. And even like recently, because I do training programs, and one thing I ask my participants, and especially after the first class, how can I teach you better? I want to know. I want to be able to grow. And so I had to, like, step back. Instead of looking at myself as a person who knows everything in terms of teaching, I had to ask my participants, how can I become a better instructor? Because I may think that I know, but I don't know what I don't know. So whenever I go into a class and I'm teaching it and everything like that, I ask, how can I teach you better? You may have learned some stuff and everything like that, but how can I teach you better? Because I want to grow.
I love
always,
that. Sorry to interrupt you, Bob. I'm going to put that in a quote and put your name underneath. It's so beautiful. And being an educational background, I just got goosebumps with that. How much more could we be teaching and being an example and leading through words like that? That was so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
you're very welcome.
And I'd just like to
Really,
say also to the audience, Dr. Bob is a lifelong learner. What he just explained about martial arts is only one topic. He's working on his third PhD. This one is in physics. And while he's doing martial arts and teaching courses and doing workshops and mentoring and developing apps as an entrepreneur and jumping from building to building, from rooftops, practicing parkour, very actively, continually stretches, reaches, continually pushes for more, and is always learning. And I just think that's an amazing attribute for a real leader, to be able to have that humility, but also to keep that curiosity.
Yes.
I
And
have a question, please. I'm
sure.
sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I mean, what do you say to people that are, even half of your age? I mean, by the way, you look phenomenal, like so
Thank you.
strong. It's such an honor to meet people like you. I mean, obviously, one of a kind. I don't know anybody with your skill set and doing what you're doing at your age. Age is not even a number for you. But for some people that, oh, I'm too old, I just can't do this. Like what? And we're coaches. We know what to say. But your golden nugget to somebody who's like, I'm just too old for that.
Yeah. It so it goes back at least for me, always staying curious, always
Mm.
wanting to know. And and Dr. Richard Feynman, who won a Nobel Prize in physics in 1965, and he was always curious, always wanting to know different things. And besides physics, he became great at playing the bongos, and he wanted to learn art. So he found someone who was a highly competent artist, and spent a tremendous amount of time wanting to learn. And and I take like my lead from others who have come before me. My uncle Keiji in Japan, and he was an officer in the Japanese army during World War II. My mom, who was my first martial arts teacher, she was a nurse in the Japanese army during that period of time. My uncle Keiji, after he retired from the advertising business, now he was a highly competent artist. He started training when he was 5 years old, and he was also one of my instructors. He's a master of both kendo and judo, and he continued training in a martial arts, all the way up until he passed away at 109. And he started learning other things. He became a lecturer, and he started writing books and everything like that at an older age. And then other people that I learned from, Grandma Moses, who was one of the most famous folk artists of all time. She started her career at the age of 78, and she went all the way to 101, and became world famous. Got to meet amazing leaders. So age itself uh, doesn't limit us. Yes, there's things maybe we can't do anymore. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be jumping from building to building anymore in parkour, and I've had parkour fails that I did a face smash in the ground hitting concrete, and my face was all over the place, and that was about 10 years ago. And yet I had to look at, okay, what did I do wrong? How can I grow from this? How can I adjust and so forth? And 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 I had to tell people, I make mistakes all the time, but how can I learn from it? That's really important. So
Fabulous.
yeah,
So
and
inspiring. So inspiring.
but all the people within this book, they are amazing. I mean, I can't wait to meet each one of you in person and grow and so forth, because uh, it's not just me. And as leaders, we should not make it just about us. It's about all of us together. Uh, it's the we factor that allow us to
Absolutely.
grow as leaders. So I'm looking forward to learning each one of the stories and meeting everybody in person and absorbing. I just want to absorb. I'm curious. I'm going to ask everybody
Me
questions.
too.
How do you do this? How do you do this? So I
Me
just
too,
want
for
to learn, learn,
sure.
learn, learn. Yeah.
I believe we have to do a retreat or something to get to know each other and sign the book and whatnot. But we do want to encourage everybody that is watching here, and even if you're not watching, I know you're feeling what we are feeling. Go ahead and send the link to people, because obviously we're launching the book today. We want to make it a bestseller. What happens when we make it a bestseller? More people get exposed, more people get inspired. We share the love and light, and there's more wisdom and knowledge everywhere. So right now, just take a couple of seconds to send this link to people, and let's make this a bestseller.
Amen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Bob, for
Thank you.
sharing that.
Thank you.
We'll be back to see you soon. Val, I love this idea. Firepower Fest 2024.
Yeah, I already see
figure
you're
out
saying
where
it,
that's
but I
gonna be.
visualized it. It's already
Yes,
you don't
love it.
worry.
I love it.
We're
I'm going to
organizing
just
it.
have to say thank you again to our guests. We're going to make room in the studio now. So, Christopher Salem, thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll speak soon. And also, I'd like to thank again my good friend Dave Crane. Thank you so much. My best to Aziza and Maya, and we'll speak soon. And thank you so much again. Now, Dr. Bob, if you can get in touch with Dr. Sophie, we have
Let me
more
do
room
that
in the
now.
studio now.
Yes. Okay.
I'll let you do that while I'll bring on the next speaker, then maybe she can get backstage now. Okay, let's see. Who is our next speaker now, Dr. Val?
James Quealy.
James Quealy, okay. James Quealy, is he still in Canada?
I am still here, but now I'm here with you.
Okay. Thank you, James. James, you definitely have a very unique and fun sense of humor. I really appreciated you at our event in Thailand recently, where we worked with kids and orphans also. Some of their families were lost in the tsunami. This is how this center was actually created.
Yeah.
These kids, and some of them were, of course, had other hardships, but it was just really great to be there. And I don't know why you thought I would look better in the Santa uniform. So there you go. But it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. James, your chapter in the book, you talk about teams because you worked all over the world, as some others of us have, but in the corporate world where you've gone as a consultant and you've managed and created and built teams, and you have a lot to say about that. And I think it's very worthwhile if anyone has an organization and they're thinking about building a team, even if it's a team of 2 or a team of 1 or a team of 22. So you've got some great wisdom in there. But I'd just like to get into it with you. Where is the fault when you see a dysfunctional team? Is it picking the bad people? Is it a bad day? Is it the leadership itself? Where does it come from?
Yeah, that is a great question, Michael and Coach MJ, Santa. But that's the $1 million question. Really, I've thought about that a lot and how to try to answer that simply rather than saying, oh, that's a big question and I can't really, you'd have to read my book. So I would say it's a lack of an authentic connection between team members and between the leader and the team. And so looking back at my history, 20 years overseas, or since like 1997, there was 3 sort of little stories that came to mind. If I could quickly share them with you, that maybe, demonstrate that. One of them was in Qatar, and I happened to be there. I was 29 years old. I stepped into the GM role of a new golf club, and we were going to be on television in a couple of months, hosting the best golfers in the world. And so there's a lot of pressure in that situation. And I had that label, that name tag that said I was the leader. But it was during Ramadan was upon us, and that was totally new to me as a young guy from Canada. And I didn't understand that when they were bringing my food in every day and I was eating that the smell of the food was very unsettling and uncomfortable to the rest of the team. My older, wiser secretary happened to mention that to me one day because I said, people seem like really disengaged here, and I'm having a little trouble connecting with people. I said, well, I know that you're not Muslim, but the smell of that food is really difficult for everybody. So I went, wow, like how, I guess I closed my door and I ate my food in there, but just bringing the food through. So I quickly stopped doing that. And once the word got out that I was actually practicing the Ramadan fast, the same as them, I gained unbelievable respect. And then everybody started smiling and they were warmer. And I'm telling you, from that moment on, and it was, a lesson that I learned from my secretary. That helped me connect, and everybody embraced me and followed what I was doing. So that's one. Another one, I was working in China with a big team, like 400 staff in this big resort. And the chairman was a wonderful guy. He said, I want my staff to give like 110%. And personally, I hate that phrase 110% because people can only give 100%. But I got his meaning, and I thought, I gotta go down and see what's going on. So I went down to the eating area, and I saw where the staff were eating, and the conditions were horrendous. I went to the staff living accommodations building, and again, the situation was stressful for me to see. I mean, things like they had a ping pong table there, but there was no paddles and a ball in the net. So, we've got a recreation area, but you can't use it. There was a washing area, but there was no towels and no soap. There was couches set up in the recreation lounge area, but the couch had no cushions in it. Like it's a bit hard to believe, honestly. But when I saw all of that, I took a bunch of pictures. I put it into the report, and it was obviously eye-opening for the chairman to see that later on, because he's not he wasn't walking around looking at all this himself. He was relying on his department heads and his other leaders in the company to do the right thing. And sadly, they weren't really walking around either. So these things just kind of fell into that state, and I exposed it all and revealed it all. And the chairman called me back right away. I thought I was in big trouble for embarrassing everybody and and talking about something that, we should just have accepted and not talked about. But the end result, everything got improved, changed. The chairman's a wonderful man. He fixed everything. And a couple months later on my return, I was having lunch, and all of a sudden one of the staff members came forward with a couple of other of them, and they gave me this gift. Actually kind of chokes me up still every time I think of it. But over in China, people are very poor for the most part, and they can't change their shoes very often, but they change their insoles. So giving someone a gift of insoles is a pretty big gift, right? Because that improves your quality of comfort of walking around all day. But what they do is, as a special gift, is they actually decorate them. So they had gone and embroidered and sewn in these really wonderful little patterns of dragon and flowers and stuff like that. And it gave me these insoles. And man, I'm telling you that everywhere I went, it was like I was a celebrity or a rock star. Everyone in that organization thanked me, and they just bent over backwards. And needless to say, they gave 110%. So that's a wonderful story, again, about being, authentic connections.
Great share, James, because the metaphor is they got into your soul, and they saw you for who you really are, your essence. And I think that's really wonderful. There's so many great golden nuggets in your chapter. I want to thank you for writing, for being a contributor to Firepower, for being one of our top trainers and consultants for Firepower also. And you can get to know more about James in the book and how he has shared his great wisdom in unleashing firepower. Thank you so much, James. We appreciate
James.
You, and we
Very inspiring.
are so grateful to have had you here today. And finally, thank you for your patience with all of our tech issues today. And I have to say that also to everyone else in the audience and in the studio as we bring up another superstar. Hold on. Thank you, James, by the way. Dr. Sophie Nubani. How could I not have you in the studio? I was like and I was stuck. I was like, I can't move from here. How can I go fix it? And like, I don't know. Can you drive a car and change a tire at the same time? I don't think so. So thank you so much for solving this for us.
Absolutely. What a pleasure, and what a great launch and connection and stories. This is very inspiring, and I'm very happy to be part of this collective connection today.
Well, you know what? You and I and Dr. Bob Choate hit it off a few years ago, and we just kind of knew somehow that we're going to be doing something together. We flirted with the idea, and then of course we got distracted. You know, he had his things, and you had yours, and I had mine. But here we are today, and I think it's miraculous, and it's such a blessing to have you. Dr. Sophie Nabhani is the author of Optimize Your Creative Mindset, and it's a very successful book. I hope that you and Dr. Val can connect, because there's so many commonalities you have between each other as leaders, as speakers, as teachers, as people who serve others with heart. And so this is one of the great blessings to have you also, Sophie, Dr. Sophie Nabhani, who helped me so much in the beginning of my cancer journey. And I'm always will be grateful for your care.
It was such an honor to serve you and to really work with you and see the transformation on many levels, and mainly demonstrating true self-leadership skills. And I truly admire and respect that very much, because it is when we are under pressure and challenges and uncertain a future, the unknown is very scary to many. And how we handle that within, and how we really push those buttons of our subconscious mind, because that doesn't happen overnight. You had to have had a lot of work done, that when you faced such adversity with health, that you were able to cope differently than the average person. And
No.
Yeah.
She got stuck.
Bring
Oh,
her back
she was in a beautiful point.
in every
Dr. Sophie, let's see if we can get you back on.
I'm back on.
Okay, great.
Yay.
Yes, that truly, Coach MJ, inspired me. That made me feel the value and importance of truly what I love doing and why. It's working with leaders who are determined, who don't give up, regardless of the outcome, preparing for the worst and expecting the best with a positive mental attitude. You kept doing a work. You did every time we talked, you were so ahead. And that truly itself is another story of another book somehow, because it will help many truly to be inspired and empowered while they're going through challenges and tough times. So it was my honor to have been working with you, Coach MJ.
Well, I adore you. Thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for supporting the book. Thank you for kicking off that beautiful post yesterday. I loved it where you're in the car. You're always a charm. You're always a delicious to listen to and to hear. And your energy is always pure of heart and full of light.
And she's beautiful and has a beautiful smile.
Absolutely.
I look forward to connecting with you and seeing what MJ is seeing. And thank you so much for inspiring us and for taking care of my twin. It's a long story why he's my twin, but I call him my twin.
Yeah, you attract your soul tribe, and they always say you meet people for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And depending on the role, the lesson, and the blessings that are meant to enter within that time and journey is what we really witness, and what we keep, and what we actually own, that helps us to utilize in future events and situations. So Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Dr. Sophie. Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Sophie Nabhani, author of Optimize Your Creative Mindset, one of my close friends and ally of Dr. Bob Choate. We're kind of like the Three Musketeers, and you'll hear more about some of the projects that we'll be doing. And we just like to invite you into Firepower Talent. Dr. Sophie, can we have that conversation next week so that you can become one of
Yes,
our
yes,
featured
yes.
trainers and coaches and help other organizations through our platform?
You got it. I am all ears.
Thank
Blessings,
you.
blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you so
MJ,
much. And thank
before
you
we
so
move,
much for waiting and fighting your way in here. It was sure worth it to see you shining again. God bless.
God bless.
All right. Who do we have next? What a joy. What a joy. Who do we
MJ,
have next?
one question. You know, you've
Yeah.
been talking a lot about fire power, and maybe explain a little bit what it's about.
Sure. Okay, I can do that. So, all the people who have contributed to the book, by and large, are also board advisors of a company that provides services to organizations and training their staff, helping to coach their executives, C-level predominantly, does executive search and international consulting. And these four pillars of activities are within firepowertalent.com. So anyone who visited firepowertalent.com would see all of the authors of the book. Oh, I've seen that guy. He was one of the authors. Well, he's also, or she is also, an advisor, a very successful entrepreneur or business person in their own right, but they've also agreed to serve on our board and will possibly speak at a conference or provide another service through the platform of Firepower Talent. So we invite anyone and everyone who has a business to check us out and see what it is that we might be able to do for you, because we have some of the best talent around, and you're going to see, you met some of them already, and you're going to meet even more of them. Thank you so much, Dr. Fowl, for allowing me to do that plug.
Yeah, no, and I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this platform as well. I'm the newbie on the block, but come with a high heart, of beating ready to serve whoever comes to work with us.
Thank
Definitely,
you.
for
Thank you.
sure.
I'm
A
going to invite
beautiful.
now the editor of the book, Dr. Randy Ward, a personal friend of mine also. She read every single chapter, so she knows the book inside and out. She's edited, I think, 4 of my other book projects, so she's very experienced in what she does. Let's bring her in. Dr. Randy Ward, thank you so much. I'm so sorry we had those issues with you. I didn't want you to feel like an orphan out there without any food basket or blanket waiting for you, or the light to come on. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry about the background. I tried to get it to reload, but it
Fine.
wouldn't
We
load.
love the
So this
background
just
that you have there.
my
That's
home.
fantastic. In fact, speaking of backgrounds, let's have a little background on you.
Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you a little bit. As the proud editor of Unleashing Power, Power, Masters of Business Excellence, I personally acquired a wealth of new business knowledge that I plan to use in my new business. I'm an educator and a relatively new entrepreneur, but I have a new business with my fiance called RM Infinite One Stop Possibilities, which includes publishing services, translations, marketing, travel and visa service. It's one stop possibilities. But I have also edited many business anthologies since I began offering my services as a master editor in July 2020. As I said, I'm also a retired language arts educator, 37 years in the classroom. I know, a long time, and taught writing for those 37 years. I'm also proudly a #1 Amazon best-selling author of 10 anthologies, 7 of those that I also edited. So I consider myself an expert on what good writing is and should be. So let me tell you this. The co-authors in this book are not only fabulous business leaders, but also great writers. This was by far the easiest book I have ever edited, and thus a great pleasure to read. Their chapters captured my interest from their very first words. I found myself literally taking notes as I was editing, something I've never done before. The co-authors are incredible and unique, including generals, business coaches, business owners, etc., as you all are finding out. Their chapter topics are also very diverse and include AI as a business tool and delving into leadership, emotional intelligence, business mindset, effective team management, and discerning adverse leadership behaviors and others. The wisdom they share is priceless. I want everybody to purchase this book and learn business practices and lessons from some of the best international leaders. Coach MJ Tolan carefully selected Major General David P. Glazer of the U.S. Army, Dr. Bob Choate, a personal friend of mine, Dave Crane, Dr. Robin Odegaard, James Quilley, Christopher Salem, Jeff Engel, a Navy SEAL, Christina Dodd, Naeem Elzine, Joseph Polani, that I met actually on IAOTP the other day. He's in one of my other groups, Kevin Walsh, and Dr. Joe Perez. The foreword was written by Ben Gay III, the author of The Closers 1, 2, 3, and his input adds an additional layer of significance to this powerful collection of teachings. Unleashing Firepower, Master of Business Excellence must become an addition to your business reference library. This book definitely will become a part of my collection when it's available on Amazon, and I'm giving it a 5-star rating when I write my review. Please, I encourage everyone to read and reread this book after you purchase it, and then go on Amazon and write a 5-star review. Not 4, not 3, 5. It deserves a 5. There's such powerful content in this book. Then please help MJ and the other authors by sharing this book with all of your business people, okay? Because they need to read this book too. It's not, we want to make this worldwide. As Dr. Val, my sister, said earlier, we want to make an international bestseller just for the status of that, but because if we get those 5-star reviews, and there are 50 of them, and we make an international bestseller, we can spread the word around the world to everybody, because you're going to learn so much from this book. It is my honest opinion that if you read and follow the advice of these magnificent leaders, you too can achieve the status of Master of Business Excellence, which is what they are. Once more, thank you, MJ, and the other co-authors for giving me the honor and privilege of playing a small role in the creation of this perfect book. I wish you great success in getting your powerful messages and business lessons out there into the business world. This book is a pure gem with a wealth of knowledge based on many years of expertise and experience acquired by these amazing co-authors and business leaders. This book is a must-read.
Wow.
Wow.
Ambassador Dr. Randy Ward. Mike, you dropped the mic. Boom.
You dropped
From
the
my
mic.
heart.
We're speechless. We have nothing to say. I mean, you said it
I
all.
read from my
For
heart,
you,
guys.
I know. We
first of
love
all,
you. We
I'm
love you for that. We love you
love
for that. We
you.
appreciate everything you did that you poured into and out of this book. We really appreciate you and we honor you for that.
I learned a lot. Trust
Absolutely.
me. It's wonderful. Congratulations,
Amazing.
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you for
Randy.
being
Appreciate
here.
it. And
Sending you much
congratulations on
love.
being appointed as Global Ambassador for Ladies of All Nations International, by the way.
Yes.
That was recently announced. I saw that. Dr. Caroline Macaca, Professor Macaca, was on a few minutes ago, our dear sister and leader in that organization, that we were all in the Philippines able to serve in our different capacities as speakers and as leaders. So it was just really awesome that we could reunite here today, and congratulate you on that. Thank you, Dr. Randy.
Yes, as far as our business, as well as our business, we are all humanitarians and want to help people around the world. So that's what we do.
Right. Yes.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
being here.
Thank you. Blessings.
MJ, let's take a pause just to,
Wow. Yeah.
really thank everybody here. We really appreciate your energy of being here. We want you to just catch a breath. Just put in all the insights, get a glass of water, get into your Amazon account, because really this is what we are here for, to expand the light. So please, I mean, don't waste any time. Just while you are here, it takes 3 clicks or 2 clicks to go into Amazon and support this amazing, amazing project that is really transforming lives, companies, businesses, leaders. And it really just is a click of a button. So like, comment, share, tell everybody what you're up to in getting this book. And we cannot wait to hear about your reviews as well.
Dr. Val, I'm just having a look in there now. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm just having a look in there now. What we would like everyone to do is please just go ahead and select an ebook. It's a very small contribution. Remember that a good portion of that goes to help support the children in the Philippines who are the cancer centers that we visited as part of our outreach program for Firepower and the Mission I'm Possible program. And we really appreciate your support there. We'd like to do something for them before Christmas. So every book that's purchased today that goes on to our schedule will be counted for that particular allocation. And we really, really appreciate your support there. And thank you again for being here and allowing us to share some of the co-authors' time and wisdom for you. Who do we have next here, Dr. Val? Thank you for letting me take a breath there.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see, because you kind of rearranged a little bit my order here. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, you did, but that's okay. Naeem Elzing.
Okay, let's see. Naeem is still, I wonder if he's still awake. It's kind of late in his time zone. Oh, he is. Okay. Let's see. Where is he? Oh, there he is.
Here I am. Here I
It's
am, my
magic.
friend.
It's magic.
Like a
Ah,
genie.
indeed.
The man in Beirut.
Yes, yes.
Blessings. We've worked together, you and I, in Beirut, and we've worked together on live events and live trainings and workshops, as well as online events. So it's really great and my pleasure and privilege to have you as a co-author in this book, and also to be as our guest today, just to share a couple little tidbits of golden nuggets with us.
Well, Michael, after what I've been hearing over here so far, I think the collective seasoned leaders who share one thing in common. I've been listening quite attentively to each one of them, being inspired myself at every point of the process, from Jeff to Dave to Christopher to Dr. Bob, James, everyone actually. And I see one thing in common between all of those great people who've come together with you and Dr. Val, is that we have one common passion when it comes to doing what we do in life and impacting people's lives positively. What we do goes beyond just speaking or advising. We do touch human being lives. And one thing I've been witnessing so far is that there exists a very wrong perception of what is true leadership is all about. And perhaps I could say it clear and loud that many leaders do not really understand that they are at positions where they do affect human lives, human beings. And we have reached a point in this living, in this world, where we have disconnected from our humanity, from the true reasons and the purpose of why do we exist. If we just treat each other as human beings, then we've achieved the point where it's all about true leadership and about really connecting as human beings and making an impact. If each one of us, each person who's listening to us today, would go through this notebook. I wouldn't call it a book anymore, MJ. I'd call it whatever it is. It is more than just a book. It's a guide. It's an envisioning process where if you go through it, you're gonna unleash beyond firepower. You're gonna unleash the true essence of leadership, humanity, of being there for your people, of developing beyond policies and procedures and just teams. You're developing cultures, you're developing humanity, and you're leaving an impact. I think this is an amazing thing. I was happy before and I was excited, but after seeing this, oh gosh, I'm so much excited, MJ, to be on board, to really go and spread this word across every place and really have those great people on board so that we work in the Middle East as well. Maybe you bring more even insights to a very turbulent area and spread those, what I would call it, collective knowledge, amazing experiences all together so that we can spread humanity.
Well, we look forward to joining you over there on projects that we
Please.
spoke about in the future. and with myself and Dr. Val and Dave Crane and some of the other, Kevin Walsh and some of the other international speakers and trainers who are willing to jump on a plane and get over there and share and make an impact, who care about people, who care about sharing and helping people grow. Absolutely.
Thank you. I would love to have all of you in an event that we hold all together in Lebanon or probably in the Gulf, where we can really spread this entire energy across to everyone.
I think
HR
that's
and
a good project for you to work on in 2024. Let's get the sponsors going, and I'm waiting for the airline tickets.
Me too. Listen,
Yeah.
the twins come in couples. No, it's truly is imagine this, what we're perceiving, like you're just sensing, we're all sensing just, 1 hour, 2 hours, but having a live event, are you kidding me? This is like, we would break it. Like, amazing.
By the way,
Amazing.
Dr. Val is also organizing, because she's been named the chairperson of Ladies of All Nations International for Mexico. So she's hosting a summit in Mexico, in the Yucatan, I believe. Is that right?
Yes,
In
we're coming to Merida.
September of 2024. So I will be there for sure with Dr. Val and probably Dr. Randy and some others. So that would be another
and
opportunity
everyone
for
is
us
welcome.
to get together. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd love
I
to
will
join,
share.
Dr. Val. I'd love to join.
Well,
let's
put a pin in that.
No, that is a done deal.
Pin.
I will do a group, and of course, and even those that are listening absolutely can come and participate in this nonprofit organization, and that we all can get together there for sure. Yes, count on that, Naeem.
Awesome. But in the meantime,
Counting.
Naeem, we're looking forward to doing some projects with you in Saudi Arabia and also
Absolutely.
in Dubai very, very soon.
Of course.
And in Beirut, any day of the week. God bless. Thank you so much.
God bless you guys.
Nice
Ciao,
to
ciao.
meet you.
All right. Then we have some great people in this group, just phenomenal leaders, great role models, people who are just bringing their hearts to the book, to the pages of the book, and in real life. Who do we have next? What super
1 second,
person?
Coach MJ.
Yes.
1 second. I would like to add something, please. Take another deep breath. Thank
Yes,
you.
let me do that. See,
What
Kevin, I'll give you instructions.
What I'm seeing is not only the brilliance of the experience and the knowledge, but there is such a beautiful synergy among everybody. And that is rare to see, that there's a sense of unity and that everybody's truly in the same mission. And I can sense it, and I know our audience can too. And that brings so much to this book, because sometimes in these collaborative books, you really don't know who in fact, some people don't even read the other authors. This is a book that, how could you skip an author? I mean, one gets better than the next. So I want to congratulate you, MJ, for what you're doing. And it's an honor to be a co-host in an event like this that has been nurturing my soul, my heart. And I am already dreaming and visualizing our next event. So having said that, MJ, let me
Thank
tell
you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And while you were saying that, it made me remember something that I heard in our conference in Manila, and it goes something like this: we don't compete, we complete.
We complete. And this, we're going to honor Dr. Robbie Motor. Speaking
Yes,
about defying age, she's another beautiful soul doing exactly just that.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It's just so inspiring. All right,
Yeah.
let's go to our next speaker. I have Kevin Walsh.
Kevin Walsh. I wonder if he's still here. Let me just go backstage and see if I can get that umbrella hook, and if I can drag him on stage. There he is.
Of course, I'm still here.
Lisa, great job. Perfect timing. Thank you so much, Kevin. Kevin says, of course, I'm still here. I've been waiting all day.
No, I have to tell you, Coach and Dr. Val, I've been sat here now for the last, couple of hours. And this has been one of the most enjoyable couple of hours that I have spent in a long, long time, because not only has it been enjoyable, it's so informative. And I think everything you just said there, Dr. Val, you're right about the collaboration of individuals. There is a synergy, there is a link through it. MJ, your energy comes all the way through all of this. We all know, you know, you're larger than life in everything. But it's just been an incredible couple of hours. I can't wait actually for me to get off and see who comes next.
Well, but you're
I
here
love
now.
it. We appreciate your
I just loved
feedback
it when
so
you said that,
much.
Kevin. Kevin, you're a well-renowned, respected sales trainer. You've worked 4 continents. You've visited 100 countries, so you are a man of the world. I found out something about you I didn't know, that you wrote your first book at the tender age of 62.
62, yeah.
Wow.
You know, I've heard it's kind of come through a few times about age, and for me, it really is just a number. It's not a limiting factor at all. Whatever you decide that you want to do, the only reason that generally people don't do it is themselves. And it's one of the things that, you know, I work on a lot with training, is encouraging people to open their minds and remove their limiting beliefs and factors, and just accept the fact that, you know, if you want to do something, there's really not too many reasons why you can't do it. And age is certainly not, you know, you don't stop trying because you're old. You get old because you stop trying. And that's it for me.
Yes, that's what Dr. Robin would call head trash. You need to get that stuff out and make room for something, a new learning experience. And also, the other thing I found out about you is that your first job, it was when you were 11 years old, and the first job you ever had was catching fish. This is part 1. Part 2 was once you caught the fish, then you would go door to door. Now, I used to sell Krispy Kreme donuts door to door when I was about 8 years old. You know, Krispy Kreme donuts, you give a dozen donuts. My customers only got about 8 or 9 donuts because I would like eat a few on the way. But you would sell the fish that you caught. Talk about being customer service and fresh in the market. Amazing.
You know, it's true. And you know something, Coach, it was a great learning curve for me, because you're right. I used to go and catch fish, and I used to go door to door knocking, and I was a charming young boy, and I would sell the fish to all the lovely housewives. And, you know, I earned some money from it. But I learned a lesson very quickly. I noticed that my sales had dropped off, and I couldn't understand why. So I went back to the ladies to ask them why they'd stopped buying my fish. And what it was, they didn't like the idea of having to clean the fish themselves. So I then increased my service, and I offered them cleaned fish. I got to charge a bit more, but it's about, you know, it's listening to your marketplace and finding out what people want, and having the, you know, I mentioned it earlier, it's listening to understand. Listen, let people tell you the problems, and then let's go and find the solutions to the problems. And that's what it was. It was great. It was good fun. I made some money at it. It introduced me to the world of sales, which is the world I've lived in all my life. Yeah, and it was good. It was good fun, good experience.
And I also learned that you're a saxophone player. I never saw that coming.
Oh,
in a million years.
wow. Now that you got me there. Kevin, you got me there.
Well,
I passed
I'll
out.
tell you
I passed out.
a very quick story about my ability to play saxophone. I was inspired to play saxophone after hearing a great tune by Jerry Rafferty called Baker Street. Baker Street opens with the most amazing saxophone riff. So I decided at 40 years of age, I was going to learn to play the saxophone. So I got a tenor sax, started playing, and I was having lessons at the weekends. And there was one Friday night, my neighbor knocked on my door with a bottle of wine. And she said to me, "This is for you." And I said, "Oh, thank you very much. Is there a reason you're giving me a bottle of wine?" And she said, "Well, I know you're having saxophone lessons every Saturday morning." So I said, "Yeah, that's true." And she said, "Well, I'm going out to a party tonight, and I really want to lie in. So if I give you this bottle of wine, will you cancel your saxophone lesson tomorrow morning so I can get some sleep?" But I've got better since then. I've got better since then.
That's right. Well, it's all about learning. As Dr. Bob Choate says, you know, you can't expect perfection all at once. And
I
you,
know
as a master sales trainer, doing all these different cultures around the world, I'm sure you must have learned so many things. You talked about listening before. Can you just give us a little bit of a sliver of a golden nugget so that when people do go to buy the book, they'll find out more about your training techniques? secrets.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, I think there's a couple of things, Coach. You know, there's a great word that I live in my life, and the word is passion. And you need to be passionate about what you do. There's no point going through the motions. I have immense passion for training and assisting and developing people to go beyond what they believe they're capable of. And the one thing I would say that I've learned, and this has been touched on again by previous speakers, is culture will always eat strategy. So, you know, if you are looking at leadership, if you don't create the correct culture in your organization, regardless what your strategy is, your organization is not going to grow to its maximum potential and capability. So it's instilling that culture in people, making sure, for me, the key is that you don't see your employees or your team members for what they are, you see them for who they are. And these people are the future of your organization. They're the future leaders. So it's developing them and allowing them to grow. Creating a culture where people can contribute, feel valued, and grow is the way that you will grow an organization. And that's really the kind of fundamentals of my trainings with leaders and with individuals. There's no reason to limit anybody.
Yeah, and of course, I would just like to put in that one little secret ingredient that you as a master trainer learned a long time ago. That can all happen when you can make them feel safe.
Absolutely.
Safe to
Right.
ask a question, safe to make a mistake, safe to learn and to stumble, because not one single baby ever asked for counseling when they were trying to walk. They fell, they got up, and they just kept going, and they kept going, and they kept going until they learned. And
you know, it's so true, Coach. You've got to give people the safety where they've got the safety to express themselves and speak their mind without fear of retribution, because it's from those minds that come the ideas that grow the businesses. You're never really too sure what people know unless you give them the opportunity to tell you what they're thinking.
So many companies today lose the opportunity to treasure hunt the very treasure they have within their own organization by tapping into the potential and the passions of the people who are right under their nose.
Without wishing to tell you what my chapter of the book is about, engagement, and it's exactly that. It's about how companies waste so much money on recruitment and rehiring and finding, whereas if they were to look to engage their own people more, that's the best way to invest your dollar. That's the best return any company's ever going to get on their money. So it's about turning a cost into a profit center.
Well said. Well said. Kevin Walsh,
Absolutely.
check out his chapter. Dr. Val, is all about sales training, and he talks about how the value proposition can work for the learner and for the company to have that mindset to keep training, because as the samurai learned a long time ago, you have to keep the blade sharp.
Absolutely. Training isn't something we did, it's something we do.
Something we do. Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin,
Walsh,
I have a
patience.
proposal. Excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Please don't rush me
Go,
between
Dr.
speakers, please. Kevin, Mexico 2024, you have a big audience to enlighten with your saxophone. You have even another year to practice even more, because now I really want to hear your saxophone.
Hey, Dr. Val, tell me, I think the ideal time to bring me on is when you want people to leave.
Yes, and make sure, Kevin, if you don't mind, play your saxophone in Spanish.
Ooh.
Of course, my pleasure. I would love to come to Mexico to your
No,
event.
you will. You
Absolute
will.
pleasure.
It's a done deal. It's a done deal.
Fabulous.
We're doing
Thank
a
you, Kevin.
Unleash Power retreat a couple of days before. Then we stay for there. We combine two events.
Absolutely.
I'm there.
There you go.
I'm there.
Done. I like it. Beautiful. Blessings, Kevin. Thank you so much.
MJ, Dr. Val, thank you.
Tuning in now, or if you've been with us, thank you so much. Coming up, we have Dr. Robin, the mental MacGyver. She's coming up next. She's a friend of mine and Kevin's also, and she has a lot to share. Hold on one moment.
Here I am.
Dr. Robin, thank you for your patience in waiting. Dr. Robin is a friend of mine. I'm very proud to call her a friend and someone who I truly admire. She runs Quick Hits. She has one of the top performance coaching businesses in America. We're very happy to have her as one of our top performance coaches, the top performance coach at Firepower Talent. and she's has a lot to say in the book about what I gave a clue about head trash. But before that, I just found out that Dr. Robin, apart from loving nature and loving hiking, she can't wait to get rid of all of her other business opportunities and have a little free time to train her dog to do circus tricks.
That is true. My dog Nebula, she does amazing. She does about 35 tricks. We love to do them for kids in like big box stores. When we go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, we do tricks for the kids.
Right.
Wow.
And it's interesting that your dog's name is Nebula because one of your other passions is astrophysics. Is that right?
Yeah, I like things that twist my brain and make me think. Astrophysics and quantum physics, every time I'm like, wait, what? How did that work? Let me read that again.
So everybody who likes the band Queen will know Brian May was an astrophysicist, actually, and he has his degree there. So there you go. The show must go on, Dr. Robin. That's what Queen sang about, and certainly for you. Can you just share a little bit about, I know that your foresting project is very intense and very explicitly well written out. I love that. But just a little quick thing about the head trash, because everyone has something to do today and next week. We all talk about self-limiting, the limiting limitations that we have for ourselves. But what is the head trash all about?
It varies from person to person specifically, but a lot of things I see in high performers is that they feel underwhelmed, underutilized, undervalued, and underestimated, and that just creates overwhelm, and they get lost in the sludge that gets in their brain, so they can't be as successful as they want to be. So they end up with the mental roadblocks of not achieving their true potential because they're not conquering those inner obstacles. So there are two kind of distinct fears that I like to talk to people about. One is intuition-based fear. That's when your brain is like, do not do that. That is a bad idea. And you should listen to that fear. That's a good fear to listen to. The other one I call trauma-based fear. And that's that fear that says, oh, that might be dangerous. Maybe I shouldn't. And unfortunately, they feel the same in your head. Trauma-based fear is the kind you have to walk through to achieve success. And intuition-based fear is the kind you have to listen to achieve success. And telling those two apart is really challenging.
Wow. I think one of the things that I learned about your practice is that you coach. We don't have to say any names, but you coach a very famous athletes, some celebrities, people who are out in public, as well as CEOs, people who don't want people to know that they have a coach, but you are on their speed dial, and they call you as a concierge service that you offer to them 24/7. If they have an issue or something, they run it by you randomly, and you're there fielding it as if you are, NASA's got that control center. You're their control center for their brain when they start to have a meltdown or something, or an inspiration.
If I worked for the mob, I'd be the consigliere.
Oh, well. Well, there you go.
But yeah, the head trash is something that everyone has, that voice in your head. A question I love to ask my clients is, do you believe what the voice in your head is saying? And the biggest challenge to that is, how do you recognize the voice in your head? Because a lot of times it's just emotional noise. You don't actually have words associated with it. So your logical brain doesn't have access to it. So to answer the question, do you believe the voice in your head? You have to actually listen to it and hear what the words that it's saying.
Yeah. And sometimes those words, as you as a psychologist would know, those words are a map in their own right. How the words are pulled out and what the meaning of them and the metaphors and the backdrop. Of course, you've got more of that woo-woo stuff than I do. And Dr. Val also deals in that space. So, but we all have contamination. Now, just like Zig Ziglar used to say, motivation might not work for more than a day, but neither does a bath. But you still do take a bath every day. So you need to clean your head trash too. Something we all need to work on.
As you mentioned in the chapter I wrote for this amazing book with these amazing authors, I did include my foresting project, which is how you dig through all of that mess and kind of find the bottom so that you can grow some amazing things.
It's very revealing. Wow. I just believe that if people were to purchase the book and only read that chapter alone, that have more than the value of the book just from a few minutes of being able to practice some of those tips. So thank you so
And
much for sharing that.
I'm
Dr.
gonna
Robin.
move from if they buy the book to when they buy the book, because I
Well, there
don't
you
think
go.
there's
There's
a
a
doubt.
language right there.
And I
There
look
is
forward to
a
hearing
doubt.
from them and hearing what amazing things they've accomplished just by doing the foresting project, because I know the power of it. I've done it with lots of clients for many years. So I encourage you, do the foresting project. It'll make a difference in your life.
So thank you, Dr. Robin. Dr. Robin, by the way, is a TEDx speaker. You can see some of her great work on TEDx. So one of the alumni that I'm proud to join there. And also she's written some other books. So have a look at her. But you'll see all the books of all of the authors and the consultants and board advisors when you go to firepowertalent.com. Their books are in our library. So we promote our authors, our consultants, our board advisors, and their expertise. Have a look, see how we can help your organization. If you're not the decision maker, you might want to just make a suggestion to your boss. Hey, have a look at these folks. They're doing some really cool things these days. Dr. Robin, thank you so much. Val, do you have anything? Because I don't want to get in trouble with you again.
No, I just was slowing down a little bit, but no, I'm very impressed with your work. Can I wait to read your chapter as well? And it's an honor to be here before you. And thank you for your inspiration and all your insight that you have gifted us tonight or today.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm
It's
at
such a
night.
pleasure to be here. I am so honored to be included with this list of amazing humans. So thank you, Coach, for including me. Dr. Val, a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Robin. Dr. Robin from Quick Hits. Can't wait to let's do a Quick Hits show very soon with some of our authors again. That would be a lot of fun. Thank you, Dr. Robin.
I get to introduce the next. I get to introduce the next call. Yes.
I'm saying nothing.
Okay. Our next speaker is Enrique Acosta Gonzalez. If he's in the house.
All right, all right.
Yeah. At least he let me introduce one.
I'll be having a blast over here. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for having me, Coach MJ, Dr. Val, all the speakers and authors that have filled the pages of this great book. I can't wait to get my hands on it and give it a 5-star review as requested. But it's so nice to be with you.
Thank you, Enrique.
Likewise.
I'm going to let Dr. Val handle this interview because I want to give her ears a rest.
No, I just really was poking your soul there just to take a laugh. No, it's an honor to meet you, Enrique. I want to hear more about your life and get to know you more, as well as the people that are hearing. We have a lot of people listening, so this is your audience, and you got 5 minutes to speak to us, to enlighten us with what you do and who you are.
All right. Well, bienvenido a todos los de habla hispana. Thank you for being with us, all that are hearing and speak Spanish. But I'm Enrique Acosta Gonzalez. Like I mentioned earlier, served in the Navy for 26 years, retired as a senior enlisted leader, what would be the highest ranking enlisted member of any command at the time. And then I chose leadership development as my next course in life. Obviously, did it for a long time in the military, but wanted to bring some of those insights out into the world. We are that little 1% of what I refer to people that the folks in the world forgot about, because we've been, tucked away at doing some missions around the world. But when we return, we often find a challenge to reintegrate, right, with the rest of the 99% that kept going while we were serving, but focused on leadership development out of Orlando, Florida. But I tell you what, all this talk about travel, I pulled out my passport.
I love it.
I'm ready to hop on a plane.
You're invited as well, Enrique.
So yeah, and I've been focusing around here lately around 3 central things, which is truth, humility, and courage. Specifically from the leadership perspective, because guess what? There's a lot of leaders that hide behind some non-truths, right? I've been picking fun here lately on my post on LinkedIn concerning truth, because there's a lot of leaders that won't tell the truth. They won't tell the truth about themselves. They can't believe a truth about themselves, and they won't let you into and peeking behind the veil of the truth about themselves. And as long as leaders do that, what they will be doing is creating a false persona about themselves. They will be creating a false world around themselves, and they'll be leading all of their followers astray. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced when a leader gets busted for something, and then you're like, what? They were doing what? And
Yeah.
it's easy. It's easy in the world where it demands a figure, a persona about leadership. And then when leaders can't do that naturally, they start to create these other things that land them in trouble. So I love to talk about truth and how leaders can actually start being truthful to themselves. And then, in a sense, obviously, you'll end up being truthful to all those around you. And so I don't know if you guys have anything for that, but that's
No,
one
it's
thing.
clear. It's a very inspiring, super inspiring. Tell us about the humility.
Yeah, humility. Wow. Now, for those that do not know, humility is a foundational virtue. It fosters genuine connection. It promotes culture of collaboration and growth. But humility is often misplaced, and some people say, well, I'm not prideful. That not being prideful doesn't mean you're humble, right? It just means that you don't have that level of pride that puts you above others. Humility, what humility does is that it allows a place for others to flourish along with you. And sometimes as leaders, we think that being humble is taking a back seat all the way to the back where you become non-existent. That's not what humility is. Humility is that you don't outshine your teammates, you don't outshine your fellow collaborators for the sake of you being a front. What it does is creates collaboration where everybody gets to eat. And when humility is truly in place, the entire team flourishes. And man, my the back of my the hairs in the back of my head started going up, because it's truly what we all want, but it's seldom what we see. And so, humility is one of those things that I like to talk about, and courage. Now, courage, for a person out of the service, courage has a different view of what people know courage to be, right? Because most people are not dodging bullets. Most people, like my friend Joe, are not undoing bombs, right? Like Jeff, they're not going in and in an SDV, going in to behind enemy lines. That takes a different kind of courage. That's different. I'm talking about courage, about being honest with yourself. The courage to say as a leader, I don't know that. But if you know, can I learn from you, or can we go get the answer together? People are just not courageous enough to say, I don't know. And leaders need to learn how to do that, because we know you don't know everything. It's impossible. But now, obviously, that demand on leadership to be the know-all, to be all, sometimes allows people to start doing things that they shouldn't. Courageous enough to say, I don't know. It's okay. And you will see people. Now you can't say it all the time, right? You can't say it all the time. But when it really counts and you don't know, just say it. You'll be surprised who in your company knows. And and they can get the whole team. The thing is, the whole team needs to advance. It can't just be you. And when you are courageous enough to say, I don't know as a leader, your team has that talent, bring it up, let them shine, and press forward.
I love that. I love that. And a lot of times when you allow that space, you actually see the gifts that your teammates have, or your company has, your employees has, because those leaders that are just focusing on themselves, you miss out on seeing all these beautiful gifts that others have. So I love the way you very clearly spoke about these three topics: truth, humility, and courage. Absolutely so contributing. MJ, would you like to say something?
No, I just love Enrique and everything he does, and we're brothers from another mother. It's all good. Um, I think one of the great things that he does, he spends time with, is helping new leaders grow their skills and to become better leaders. And one of the things that I've learned, and you'll hear also from Captain Joseph Polanen when he comes on in just a minute. He's been so patient. He's got an incredible chapter on leadership in our book. But one of the things that leaders know is that when they come into a room, they'll speak French, and you'll know they're speaking French because they'll say the words we a lot instead of me.
I love it. I love it. Well, definitely, what a pleasure to meet you. I know that one more thing before you go, you are a top voice for LinkedIn, and this would be a great moment for you to share. We have a lot of people that might be coming in and out, and everybody's trying to make their way through LinkedIn. What's your X factor, Enrique?
Well, yeah, contribution. Let's just say it like that, right? The more you contribute, and it doesn't matter if it's on LinkedIn, it's in your team, your organization, your home. And I really like to focus on the home. Uh, where you contribute the most, you get a praise, and that's just it. And hopefully, you're doing that at home and getting the right amount of praise from your family. But when it comes to the marketplace, being a contributor for whatever time you're going to do that, contribute well, contribute timely, and you will always get recognized whether you see it or not. I am a benefactor of MJ's grace to be here. Not an author, but a follower of everyone that has authored this book, and I'm just so happy to be able to contribute and see some benefits out of that.
Absolutely, Enrique. And then volume 2, we have Enrique Valalino and a couple more guests. And
Absolutely.
we'll do the comeback or some other form too, because there's so much talent, and it is about sharing. It's so inspiring. It's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for being here with us.
Igualmente. MJ,
Estamos en contacto.
love you, brother.
My brother. Thank you so much, Enrique. God bless. See you on LinkedIn, where we both live. And now, Dr. Val, thank you so much for helping out there. I really appreciate your co-hosting the event and how inspiring you are, and how you add that spark to sizzle and listen to what each speaker is saying, and being able to distill that back to our audience in a special way. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for believing in my heart and having me here. I'm so happy.
Me too. And another person I strongly believe in, and I love his heart also, is retired Captain Joe Polanen. He's been waiting in the wings. He deserves to be first. I don't know what happened with our tech today, but I'm going to bring him on stage now. Just make sure we're still friends. Joe, thank you so much for all of your patience, and we've been waiting to meet you and hear you. Of course, we've met so many speakers today, and we've talked to so many people, and we're very blessed to have everyone that we've had in here, and certainly no less than blessed than we are with you.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your very kind, gracious, and generous comments there, and wonderful introduction. And Dr. Val, thank you. As I have been listening and learning from all of our speakers, our co-authors, and our co-creators, our co-contributors to this movement, I value so much both of you in your leadership, and certainly the facilitation today. And the first time that I spoke with you, Coach, I hope that you'll remember this, because what stuck with me was, this is not simply an organization. That is not simply a team. This is much more than that. This is a movement that is changing people's lives for the better. And a colleague, I'll open it up with this, and certainly turn it back over to you for any questions or topics that you want me to cover today. But I was speaking with a colleague once, and we had a rather ambitious goal, and the goal was really affecting probably between 3,000 and 5,000 teammates and family members. And my colleague came to me and they said, "Oh my gosh, there are so many people that we have to support. How are we going to do that? It's almost impossible." And I looked at him and I said, "We're going to do it one leader, one family, and one team at a time. And when we achieve that result, that positive impact for one, we will then work on 2, and then we'll work on 5, and then we'll work on 10. And that's how we did it. We achieved success in that endeavor, but it was that mindset. So many of the speakers spoke about that today. The mindset, the attitude, the drive within us that's intangible, that says we're not going to quit ever. And when we resolve not to quit, we're going to reach to our left and right, and we're going to grab our teammates and our family members and our fellow leaders with us. And we're going to make sure they don't quit either, because they will cross the finish line with us.
I really appreciate your pillars of leadership. The anchoring words that you've just described remind me of your integrity, and how leaders have to have that resolve, to have that steadfastness, to say, okay, this is my commitment, this is my mission, this is how I'm going to impact others. This is not a wish, this is a decision.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. And there are two elements I would like to underscore here on that. Number one, for me, it's all about core values, right? These are our intangible moral and ethical principles that we carry with us inside, right? I spoke about, and I've written about, and it's included in the book, the focus on what I happened to learn from military leadership experiences, but really what are lessons for life, and what are valuable in whatever industry or sector one chooses to work in, or whatever professional discipline one is involved in. Core values, how we live our lives. There's a famous phrase that says, how we do anything is how we do everything. So how we live our lives is the same way we approach our professional decisions. It's the same way we run our companies or we run our organizations. There's no difference. And for me, those core values are people, grit, and honor. People are always and always will be our most important resource. We can have the best technology. We can have the most fascinating platforms. We can have the latest cutting edge AI, fill in the blank, everything. Without people, those will gather dust and those will cease to be relevant. People breathe life and imagination and creativity and caring and emotion and empathy into everything that they do. Without people, we can achieve nothing. With people, anything is possible. Number two, grit. We heard Jeff speak about this. We heard Kevin speak about this. We heard Enrique speak about this. Don't quit ever. We talked about that earlier. And when you asked me for the quote, Coach, for the promo, what did I say? Don't quit.
Never quit.
That's it. Mm-hmm. When you have a goal, whatever that goal is, It's going to be bold. It's going to be ambitious. It might seem somewhat impossible to some, but don't quit ever. Your actual footing on the path may change, but don't change the path. Don't leave the highway. Resolve to achieve that goal and demonstrate grit in all that you do. And number 3, honor. We heard Enrique talk about this. We heard Kevin talk about this. So many other speakers talk about this. Do what's right because it's right. And resolve to have your moral and ethical code be not only your compass and your guide, but what makes you driven to do the right thing every day. Don't waver. Don't deviate from that. People, grit, and honor. And I'll conclude and turn it back over to you for any further questions or topics that you may want to discuss. There's a theme that has resonated as I've listened to all of our speakers and learned from all of our speakers thus far today. I will highlight specifically that Jeff and Kevin and Enrique talked a little bit about this, but it's what I call the ethos of quiet professionalism. And this brings together humility, the element of teamwork, that element of grit that we talked about earlier, don't quit ever, and what Kevin talked about, that sense of purpose. What you're doing is a means to an end. Why are you doing it? My thesis is that great leaders, and we've written about this a lot, you and I, Coach, and I know Val has commented on this as well. Great leaders elevate, empower, and inspire others as a team to transcend and achieve more than what they thought possible. And the second thing that great leaders always do is they always make sure this essence of humility that Enrique talked so much about. What we do is not about us. We're not here to do anything for ourselves. We are here to develop the next generation of leaders to be better than the best that we've ever known. I'll share a quick story with you and turn it back over to you. A wonderful leader that I respected came to me one day and he said, "Who's the best leader that you've ever known?" It wasn't a trick question. He said, think about that really hard. It could be in different disciplines. It could be in different professional areas. Who's the best leader you ever knew? What you need to do every minute of every day is develop the leaders and the teams under your charge. And this is really our duty and our obligation as leaders. Develop those under your charge to become better than the best that you ever knew. That's the way we move forward. That's the way we move forward together as a team, as an organization, and for the various entities and enterprises that we support. So thank you again.
That's incredible.
Absolutely.
Become
And
better
wow,
than the best. I love that.
how about
I
that?
love that.
Great leaders grow new leaders. They're always doing that. What would you do if I wasn't here? And the other words I often hear is, I used to call it my barbecue test. The barbecue test is you're not there, and all the neighbors are there, and some of the workers are there, and somebody says, "Hey, what's it like working with Captain Joe?" Well, Captain Joe, he treats us really well, and I used to have another boss who couldn't wait to show us how important he was, and then I met Captain Joe, and he made me feel important. So I love working with Captain Joe, and I'll do anything he asks me to do because we work as a great team. And there you go, magic.
That's beautiful. I have a question to speak about with you, Joe. I want, this book talks a lot about business and leaders and all of this, but also, what about those younger, soon to be leaders or leaders that are already, young, or people that might not already have a business and are seeking to go into building up something? How would this whole book also impact them, and what is your strategy or point of view or comment on somebody who might be watching right now that might be looking a little bit too much? Everybody's so successful, everybody's reached the golden nugget, but how can really one start to build themselves up to their own path, but having these strategies at an early age, or maybe in a later age, and they're just ready to take their leadership role.
Yeah, Val, thank you so much. And I would love to share with you a personal reflection that is very dear to me and to our family, but it's rooted in the power of yes. And the same answer applies to both of the scenarios. What those who will read this absolutely monumental book that captures the movement that we talked about earlier, that's changing people's lives for the better. Count the times in this book that the word no is used. It isn't, is the answer. The power of yes, there are two elements to that. And this also speaks to the young leaders, the up and coming leaders, those who might say, well, I have this bold goal, but I just don't know if I should start or how I should start. The power of yes is twofold. Number one, yes, everything's going to be okay. And number two, yes, anything's possible. There are some, for the first part, there are some who fear or have some caution with respect to, gosh, I don't know if I want to try this right now. I'm thinking about starting a new company. I'm looking at a new opportunity. I want to write a book. I want to do public speaking, whatever it is, whatever the goal is. And they might be thinking, well, I might make a mistake along the way. I might fail. I might have a problem, so I'm not going to start. My advice to those individuals is start, because of course you will make mistakes. Of course there will be failures. And that's what teaches us the most. I cannot recount for you the times that I have succeeded. I don't remember them, but I remember vividly every mistake, every failure, and what that taught me and how I changed my attitude, my mindset, and my approaches going forward, whether in the military or out.
This is great advice. Great
Right.
advice.
Thank you.
And I have something in common with you with the yes word. In fact, I have a new project that I want to do. I want to make t-shirts that says yes, yes, yes. I'm opening up a third yes. I'm gonna get us the shirts. All right, MJ will get you one too.
I love it.
It's the power of yes. And this has been so helpful. Thank you so much for this contribution. I want to just share really quickly, if MJ allows me. Like, I've seen, part of my humanitarian work is homelessness. I just love working with homeless, and I have seen how these beautiful souls become leaders. I've seen it with my own eyes. In fact, I have a chapter in my book that says the top 50 lessons, or 15, I don't even remember what number, the top lessons of leadership in the eyes of service. Everything I teach on stage about leadership, I promise you, I've learned it from people in the streets, and it's so beautiful. So this is my plea, to give everybody an opportunity to be a leader. Don't you please think that somebody in the streets is not capable of doing something. Don't you think for a second that that person who is with drugs and drooling or upset or doesn't come out, or the XYZ person is not capable. We are all capable of being leaders. And this is a plea, because we're celebrating this book, to be a vessel of love, to bring more leaders into this world.
You're absolutely right. And thank you so much for sharing that, because there's another element that so many of the other speakers talked about today. And that is, when we think about what a leader is, and I wrote a little bit about this in the book, leadership is not a position. It's not a title. It's not a role. It's not an office. It's not a salary. Leadership is a process of learning, caring about people, and growing. And as we talked about earlier, elevating those teams to transcend whatever they thought was possible. Great leaders care, and they demonstrate every day empathy for others. Right? One of the speakers earlier was talking about listening to understand. I believe it was Kevin, listening to understand vice listening to respond.
Mm.
When you truly care about someone else, and this is what great leaders do, when you truly care about someone else, you stop what you're doing, you devote 100% of your effort to them, you listen to what their concerns are, and you understand those concerns, and then you work with them to move forward. That's what great leaders do. And as you highlighted, that power of yes, which I again, the other side of it for me is that anything is possible. So the person who thinks I can't do something, change your mindset. Not only can you do it, but anything is possible.
Absolutely.
And when you have that bold goal that others tend to think, oh, maybe that's not possible, keep going after it. Don't quit, as we said earlier.
I love it. This is so much contribution. It's been a pleasure to have you. We're heading towards the end of this segment and we're closing with a golden lock. Absolutely. I think we have one more speaker, but this is a moment of pause to really recommend everyone to understand that this is to bring this awareness for unleashing firepower. So even our authors that are here backstage, please go ahead and send this link to your loved ones. If you are still here, or I don't know how we're going to share this later, just we want to make it a bestseller. So it's the unity of everybody's heart at one set of time, which is now. Let's just unite to make this happen, because I know the impact that already this book is leaving in the world. What are your thoughts about that, Joe?
Oh, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, Val, it's a movement. It is a positive sense of best practices and lessons learned from decades, even cumulative centuries of leadership. Best practices, what works well, what should great leaders put in their tool bag and repeat and use and harness. And the reader has the opportunity to dive in to the deep end of the pool, so to speak, and immerse themselves in this set of cumulative best practices. Also, lessons learned, as we talked about earlier. When we make the 50 mistakes that we're going to make today, I'll probably make 100. When I make 100 mistakes today, I will resolve to learn from those, and I will make 100 new mistakes tomorrow, but I won't make the same ones. That accumulation of knowledge, experience, and expertise is also encapsulated in this book, and readers can use it as a guidepost for that, as almost as a navigational beacon.
Absolutely.
From which they can forge their path forward.
I believe the universe heard me, because I didn't mean that MJ left, but he left, and that gives me another minute with you, because I don't know how he wants to end. I really want to speak to the audience that always has an excuse. For me, you're so lucky, Val, that you get to travel all around the world and do what you can. Because you have all this freedom. And I cannot do it because, I have small kids, or I'm too invested in my company. I just can't. Give us some tips, golden tips for those people that are the excuses is what's holding them back to create the reality, to become the leader of their own life.
Absolutely. I'll give you 3. Number 1, what you can do is more important than what you can't. There may be physical limitations that we have. There may be certain factors in our lives that we don't control. What can you do? If you can make 1% progress today in the direction of your goal, you know what that is? That's progress. You've moved further forward. Emphasize focusing on what you can do. What you can do is always more important than what you can't. Number 2, what you will do outweighs what you won't, because can is a relative concept. I can do 150 things today. What do I decide to do, and what do I take my personal will and my personal conviction and put toward that? And I've made a decision, I'm going to do this. I will do it, and then I act upon it. So what you will do outweighs what you won't. And finally, as I talked about earlier, what you will accomplish together as a team will always transcend anything you can do by yourself. So for those who may be thinking, I'm doing this alone, you're not. It could be a team of 2, it could be a team of 5, it could be a team of 500. There are those who know and have the abilities to do things that you don't. Gather those people around yourself and elevate yourself and them at the same time.
Amen. Amen. This was beautiful. Well, I will update you on that little part that you missed, MJ. This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
with
Joseph.
us.
Appreciate it. We'll be speaking soon. Thank you so much. God bless. What a great masterclass you are on leadership. Our
It
next
paid off
guest,
that he was at
is
the
a
end.
special guest,
He got
by the
more
way.
time.
I was had to leave because of technical issues, and I'm just so honored because I wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it. He's written the foreword to our book, but apart from that, he is a legend himself. He's America's foremost pioneer of sales work, direct sales. He was mentored by Dr. Napoleon Hill. He's worked with Zig Ziglar and so many other legends. He's built multi-million-dollar businesses before any of us could say the word million. And he is one gentleman I just can't get enough of his time. He's been so kind to write the foreword of our book and to come on. Ben, can I just bring you on here? God bless you. Ben. Sales legend himself, author of the Closers 1, 2, and 3, considered a sales Bible for anyone in persuasive selling and ethical selling. How are you, Ben?
I'm doing fine. I was enjoying listening to that part. I was over in some other link backstage for the last 35 minutes.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry.
And after a while, I thought I must be at the wrong party.
Yeah.
So
nobody passed by with a tray of hors d'oeuvres and cocktails.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. We welcome you, and you are our last speaker, so we are right.
Well, we saved our guest of honor slot just for you, so
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
we're so grateful that you're here. By the way, Ben, my best regards to Gigi over in California today. I know that some of us have live a charmed life. If you're over there in California, well, you're living in good weather and good company. And I've enjoyed also the podcast I listen to on Wednesdays where you're on with
Denise Griffiths.
And you discuss the closers and you get into some of the real meat of your books that you've taught us over the years. So I'm very grateful. And so thank you so much. I just didn't get a chance to thank you enough for writing the foreword to our book and honoring us as serving on our board for Firepower Talent.
Well, I appreciate that, and I consider it an honor. Just in the little bit I've been able to listen to since I got in the right place, I've been Val and Joe most recently. Pleased and honored. I always learn. I've done 5,000 paid seminars and speeches, and probably attended 10,000 others. And I keep thinking at some point I'll have learned everything. I won't have to do this anymore. I've never been to a seminar or a speech or whatever that I didn't pick up something. Sometimes in the bad ones, it was what not to do. But as we were just talking about learning from mistakes, you can learn from other people's mistakes too. You don't have to go make those either. And so that was helpful. Joe was talking about something a moment ago, the role of leadership. I have personal experiences, but we don't have time to go through them. But in every book on great leaders, men and women, and/or women, somewhere in that book you will find a sentence that sounds somewhat like this: when I was with him or her, I felt as if I were the most important person in the world. When I was with him or her, I felt as if I were the only person in the world. Well, I've had the opportunity to travel the world. I've met with kings, queens, princesses, business leaders, politicians, astronauts, coached a bunch of astronauts, uh, and Charlie Manson at San Quentin. So from Charlie Manson to the astronauts is quite a stretch. It covers a lot of people in the middle. But that's the type of thing that when I got in the presence of someone who was really good at what they did, I felt as if I were the most important person in the world. So if you're looking for a skill to work on, folks, that might be one. Practice being, it was said of Nelson Mandela that he was a dynamic listener. He was also a dynamic speaker, leader, proved his mettle, 20 years locked in a cell. But he was a dynamic listener. He really zeroed in. I've gotten to the point where I'm such a good listener. Sometimes it unnerves people. I'm staring right at them to the exclusion of everything else on earth, and they're not used to that. And I can see them started getting a little uneasy. I say, "You okay?" Yeah, but I didn't know what to say back. I said, "No, I'm doing something that's very unusual. I'm listening to you. I really care what you have to say." And hitchhiking on something one of you just said moments ago, I'm not listening to respond. I'm listening to learn. And if you develop that attitude in every interaction, life goes so much better and you're treated so much better. Every time I approach someone, and I mean this literally, it used to be a flip line, but I'm telling you, it's become my life. Every time I approach anyone and there's going to be any interaction, I want to A, listen, and B, have them feeling better about something about themselves before we part company. And that's waiters, waitresses, drivers, friends on the street, people. I go looking for interesting people, and I find them everywhere. I've met some of the most fascinating people in the world, not by accident. I sought them out. If I get in a room and somewhere in there's an unusual person, I'll find them, and soon we'll be buddies. And that goes from Sally Stanford, the mayor of Sausalito, California. She was also the madam of San Francisco in her earlier days. By the time I knew her, she was running a restaurant called Valhalla in Sausalito, and but was known for being famous as a madam. The United Nations in 1948, in large part, was formed in her house. That's house. After hours, because the delegates and the potentates would go to Sally's for probably a variety of reasons, but among them was whiskey and cigars in her parlor, and she watched the United Nations be formed. She was just a fascinating person, and people say, you brag about knowing a madam. Yeah, she was it's not the choice I would have made for a career, but she taught me so much. I'm going to give you a quick lesson that she taught me. We were sitting at the bar in Valhalla one day, and Marcia, my first wife, who's since passed away, went to the restroom. And while she was gone, this lady came up to Sally and said, Miss Stanford, my husband is Dr. So-and-so, and he thinks the world of you, and you've been friends for years and all. And she said, I'm really sorry. I don't know him. I've never heard of him. And the lady gave some more information. Sally says, I'm really sorry. I don't know him. And so when she walked away, I said to Sally, the lady and her husband obviously knew you. Why did you deny it? And she said, Ben, if Marcia came out of that bathroom right now and asked me if I knew you, I would say no. In my line of work, you don't talk about who you know and don't know and so on. And I thought, oh, you don't have to blab. What I got out of that, among other things, was you don't have to blab everything you know at every opportunity to say something. Silence, listening is one of the great lessons I've learned. And the other one is silence. I have opinions on almost anything. You could make up a subject, and I would have an opinion on it instantly, as most other people would. But I've learned that the world doesn't have to hear my opinions about everything. That silence and apparent calmness, uh, sometimes has to be faked, because there are times when I appear calm and I'm not. But calmness, listening, and silence. And one last thing to hitchhike on, just listening to you guys, I was fascinated. We're talking about value. We're talking about people who can't do anything because of this excuse or that excuse and so on. Well, when Dr. Napoleon Hill came to work for me, he had a special place in the office at the end of my conference table where he sat, and he had a special room up at the house, Dr. Hill's room, and we had to be jammed up with guests before anybody slept in there, because it was Dr. Hill's room, and the chair at the end of my conference table was Dr. Hill's chair. But I was doing 300 speeches a year back then, aided by a Learjet. That helped. I once did 33 presentations in 11 days, 33 different cities in 11 days. I did a wonderful talk about how lovely I thought Orlando or something was to one group. And when I finished bragging about Orlando, the guy said, a guy in the audience said, I too like Orlando, but since we're in Baltimore, how do you feel about Baltimore? I didn't know what state we were in at that point. Never mind city. So anyway, living that type of life, Dr. Hill wandered past me one day and he said, Ben, how's the family life going? And he had had 3 unhappy marriages, 2 divorces, and an annulment, didn't get along or didn't have a love relationship with his kids. Family was a big deal to him because he didn't have what he wanted. To the day he died, he didn't really have what he wanted. And I said, oh, it's fine, Dr. Hill. I'm busy, as you know. I assume that's the reason you asked the question. But I fit family into the nooks and crannies. I'm really aware of that. And he says, I'm so glad we had this conversation. We found the problem. And I said, what problem? He said, here's what I'm going to teach you how to do. And he helped me set up my daily success system, which is in large part maintained in this calendar. And I've got next year's coming up. The beauty of this particular, let me turn this so I don't reveal.
That's the one I've used for years in my business, actually, exactly the same one.
Yeah. And the reason I like it, as you know, is full pages, not the little bitty squares. You know, full pages of what you do on that day. I've got to get busy. I have nothing planned for Sunday, November 26th. But anyway, that was among the reasons he had me get this calendar and or one like it and begin working the daily success system. He said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to map out a year in advance all of the family things you're going to do. And among them is 4 long weekends, usually over in Mendocino on the Northern California coast. We love it over there and like to go over for 4 or 5 days and so on. And then date night. That's sort of a cliche, but we have date night written in the calendar in advance, highlighted in yellow, and nothing interferes with that. MJ, a compliment to you. GD said, you must really like and respect Coach Tolan. And I said, why? She said, because you don't do Saturday events. And you don't like, in fact, on my calendar, it's one of the things I just don't do. The answer is no. I don't work on Saturday or Sunday. I'm available to people, so it's not like I'm, shutting down the business, but I'm not going to the office and working. And she said, and you're supposed to meet at 8:30 in the morning. And I said, yeah. She said, well, I get up at 4:30 and start working on the phone and so on. But I don't go to the office until about 10:30 or 11 because I want the front part of my day. So she said, you're meeting with him on a Saturday at 8:30 in the morning. I know you think the world of him. And she was right. And now that I think about it, why the hell am I here on a Saturday working early in the morning? So anyway, among the things that go into the daily success system was, he said, we're going to put your family first and we're going to put the business in the nooks and crannies. Well, so I started doing that, and it's not that big a deal. 4 or 5 long weekends a year. You map them out in advance. You just don't do anything but that on those days. And unless we're in an emergency, which I don't think has ever happened, the cell phone is off. She leaves her on in case one of the kids needs something, but they're glad we're out of town, so they don't care. And so I mapped that out, date night, in advance, all holidays, Mother's Day, her birthday, etc. All get mapped out. And then people say to me, well, how do you have time to run your businesses? I said, the work expands to fit the time allowed, is an old cliche. It also contracts to fill the time. It's like putting on a show. At the last minute, there's all this hubbub and run around. But the show, when the curtain goes up, the show's always there. And somehow people make it work. So that was a huge thing to me when I moved the business into the nooks and crannies, and the family number one. And it makes you feel better. So in business, you function better. I don't have any guilt about, I should be spending this time with so-and-so or doing so-and-so. So nooks and crannies. When I was with him or her, I felt as if listening, silence, and calmness are all things I've found with leaders around the world. Apollo 13, when it blew up on the way to the moon, if you remember, I forget which astronaut said it, but one of them said, Houston, we have a problem here. He's 150,000 miles from Earth, and the back of the spaceship just blew off. Hello, Houston. We have a problem here. Instead of, we're all going to die. Calmness. And that's a trained thing. You don't have to, when the doctor hits you on the knee with a mallet, your leg might involuntarily twitch, but you don't have to do that in your life. In your life, I count to 3 or 4 or 5, or breathe in a couple of times. And frequently the answer is, let's not say anything this time. And another benefit that comes to a person like me, I'm a high school graduate, barely. Took me 3 high schools to get through high school, having been thrown out of 2 of them. I'm not the most educated person in the world, but because I've learned to stare at people and really listen, ask meaningful questions, I get credit for being much wiser than I am. There's that old saying from somebody, Mark Twain, better to be considered an idiot or thought an idiot or something like that than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So I just stare and nod. I'm pretty good chin rubber. Rub my chin, look at them, and you get all sorts of credit that maybe you don't deserve, but it's a learned skill. So I've run longer than I should have, but I was so caught up in what you guys were talking about. Dr. Hill also taught me to always have within arm's length a memo pad. I also have a big legal pad and a pen. So while you were talking, I was busy making notes. Just cause. Yeah.
I love
what a
it.
gift you are.
Wow.
What a gift
You are
are.
amazing.
I am amazing.
Continuing to teach us that you're a learner, continuing today. What an inspiration that is for all of us.
And Gigi just walked out of the office. She could have heard how amazing I was. So Val, if we're ever back on the camera or phone together, be sure and bring that up.
Yeah.
Gigi,
absolutely.
It's hard to be a prophet in your own hometown.
And again, we say when we're connected again, not if. I don't like the word if. When we connect again.
I am thrilled to be a small part of the book. I'm also thrilled to, if I could find my phone and shut it off. Oh, that's part of my daily success system. It's telling me it's 9 o'clock on the East Coast and time for me to take my morning pills.
I love it.
I think I just got the same message. Ken Gay, author of The Closers 1, 2, 3, who's written the magnificent foreword of Unleashing Firepower, one of my great mentors. Please look him up, read his books, find out what you can learn from him. I always do. I enjoy every time I hear you. Check out the podcast with the Griffiths. Could you put that up for us, Lisa, when Ben tells you again?
Yeah, it's Your Partner in Success Radio.
Your Partner in Success Radio. There you go. Okay.
.com, and it's Denise
Gotcha.
Griffiths.
Ben,
Wonderful
thank you
lady.
so much. Thank you so much. Blessings, and
Thank you. An honor to
especially on the
meet you,
Saturday.
Ben.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Your Partner in Success Radio. There it is. .com. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Take care, bud. Okay, so Val, I think we're at the point now where we hit our time button as well. The phone didn't go off, but the alarm did. It's been wow, what a roller coaster of an event. So many great speakers, so many golden nuggets. How was it for you?
I can't even process that 3 hours went by. This is the part that's when we talk about loving what we do and just taking every minute to continue to grow and just be in full gratitude. For me, I'm in filled gratitude to you for allowing me to be your co-host and for allowing me to learn and be motivated by all these wonderful speakers. Now I will consider them part of my community as well, because we're one and we have plans to extend this to something live, which is very exciting. But let's not forget why we are here, to get together and inspire people to get this book today. This is the way Amazon works. It's not like, oh, let me do it tomorrow. It's a minimum fee that also goes to serve these children that I had the pleasure to meet with MJ here in the Philippines, if that's where you're choosing, the children with cancer. And I cannot tell you how much the contribution of one click for you is not even a Starbucks coffee. And what you will be gaining is just not even comparable. And you will also be of service to those children. So thank you for everyone that has made this possible, the behind the scenes, Vilma, Lisa, and you'll recognize the team. But for me is literally life-changing. I am inspired. I mean, for me, it's 1 a.m., by the way. I'm in a retreat here. It's too long of a story to share, but I started my day at 4:45 today, and I feel like I just woke up. I literally feel like I just woke up. And I don't, the fact that I do have to walk in the forest, in the mountain to get to where I'm sleeping is very interesting, to walk at 1 a.m. with pitch black, but I'm empowered. I'm empowered by everyone's words, and I will conquer. Yes, yes, yes.
Right. Well, take your firepower torch through the woods. Dr. Val, it's been a great joy for me to share the stage with you today, to co-host and meet some of your fellow board members and the authors of Unleashing Firepower. I'm sure we're going to do many things together. There's no doubt in my mind. Twins we are, twins we remain. And I'm so glad I got a chance to introduce the rest of our family to you today and to the rest of the world, because I'm so proud of each and every one of our co-authors and board advisors of Unleashing Firepower and firepowertalent.com.
Absolutely. And I want to just make a small request for those people that are still here, that if this was of contribution to you, you write about it. Just share the word out there, because there's so many myths about having long events and how, oh my gosh, what time is gonna be my time to speak, and we deconstructed all myths, and we are still holding strong despite of where anybody is in the world. We had people that were waking up too early, and me staying in the night. And if this was of contribution to you, just let us know so we can continue to do this. How may we serve you, and how we can continue to be better to serve you.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And yes, as Dr. Val says, I will, just as a big ask, please share on your social media, hashtag Unleashing Firepower, hashtag Firepower Talent. Let others know that you attended this event. that it was an event not to be missed. If you gained something, let us find out what that was. Did you take away a golden nugget today? Well, I mean, share it. Let us know. Was there a particular speaker that you got something out? Was it something that Dave Crane said about how he can teach you how to become a paid speaker? Or was it something Enrique said about how he can show you how to become a better leader? Or any of the other golden nuggets dropped by our wonderful board who shared these pages in this book, forwarded by Ben Gay, who just shared his precious Saturday time away from Gigi. We certainly appreciate that. By the way, two things I need to do before we hang up here. One is a big shout out to Lisa Raymond, who produced the show, Visibly Media. They get all the credit and all the kudos. I really do appreciate everything that she's done, the sacrifices that she made, and the hard work that she put into this. And as she continues to do that, we work together on another program with Sue Falcone and Remarkable Speakers, but that's another thing. But for today, Lisa helping us out here was just invaluable. And the big other thing, too, is that our communications coordinator, Vilma Mantilla, for firepowertalent.com and for the book, is celebrating her birthday today. So a big shout out to Vilma and happy birthday to her for that. She also happens to be in the Philippines, but I'm not giving her anywhere near Val because Val's going to try to put her to work. And I've already made that. Then finally, I'd just like to say this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for attending this event. Thank you for making it everything that it was. Thank you for inspiring us to try to give as much as we could to you, because at the end of the day, when you want to serve others, nothing will bring you more satisfaction than when you feel that's really happening. And I'm very happy today that so many people who came in, cared enough to share their time, sacrifice their days, and just come in and do what they could. So from me and from Dr. Val here at Unleashing Firepower, the launch, go to Amazon, click, share, make this happen. Let's spread the word and make this event a significant one, especially for those kids in the Philippines who have cancer, who I went out and I shared 3 events out there in Asia just recently in October, November, and I'll be going back out before May again, doing more with your help and your support. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. Until next time.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.